Imagine waking up in a random stone alleyway with no idea how you got there. He rubs his eyes and tries to piece it together, muttering about where this place could be. Then the memories finally start to click. Stepping out into the town, everything looks like a fantasy game brought to life. A quick pinch to the cheek confirms the stinging truth that he really was reincarnated. Peeking around the corner, the square is buzzing with elves and beast people going about their day. This is no dream but is actual new reality. But before this new life began, things got seriously weird when a god appeared out of thin air. Back in a white void, a winged goddess is prostrating herself on the floor while begging for forgiveness. Shinomiya can only stare at the scene in complete confusion. The goddess is sweating bullets as she tries to explain the situation. Her own incompetence somehow caused a massive disaster for our boy. Then the memory hits like a freight train with the screech of tires and the flash of a truck. He didn't just wake up here, he died in a tragic accident. A truck-kun did his work as usual. Shinomiya covers his face as the weight of his death finally hits him. He asks if she is some kind of death god, but she frantically shouts that he has it all wrong. Moving the conversation to a peaceful floating house, she offers him some tea to help him relax. Our boy just stares into his cup, still unable to believe he is sitting in the clouds. She gives him a warm smile and introduces herself as Samadila, the boss of the heavenly realm. She already knows his name and gets straight to the point, explaining that he was summoned to hear the real reason behind his death. While most gods are guides, a rogue deity broke every taboo by treating his entire life like a puppet show for their own amusement. This explains a lot, especially the time a bridge crumbled beneath him for no reason while he was hiking. He also recalls his parents' marriage blowing up out of nowhere and heavy furniture nearly taking him out. Samedi explains that some rogue god was just too good at dodging their radar while ruining his life. Shinomiya just takes the news with a dry icy as if he is already used to his luck being garbage. Even as the boss of the gods, she drops into a full apology bow to deliver the worst news possible. She can't send him back to his old life and he realizes his time on Earth is officially over. Since returning home is off the table, she offers up the ultimate deal. She asks how he feels about getting a fresh start in a completely different world. She did her homework and knows he is a massive fan of fantasy games and anime. The second she offers him a real-life isekai adventure, his eyes light up and he agrees before she can even finish the sentence. She knew that would do the trick. With a quick snap of her fingers, she summons a glowing status screen right in front of him. He stares at the list, wondering if these are actually his own stats. She explains that even though he is just a soul right now, the skills he practiced back on Earth have carried over as special abilities. His list includes high-level cooking and a memory capacity that lets him memorize entire textbooks in one go. It turns out living alone and being a total study nerd actually paid off for his new life. Samedi drops some hard truth about how special skills actually work. While training is great, the top-tier abilities usually come from divine favor or pure luck. He checks if his Earth knowledge and abilities will carry over after he is reborn. Samedi confirms it is fine, as they have seen memory retention work before. As a peace offering for his unfair death, she offers him a choice of 3 powerful skills. Our boy gets to hand-pick his own cheats for this new world. He wonders if accepting such a huge favor is really okay, but she insists it is her way of apologizing. He asks for some time to think, and she is happy to wait. She unrolls a list of every skill in existence, and the sheer length is overwhelming. While he starts his research, Samedi takes the opportunity to grab a quick nap. The first skill on his list is the appraising eye, which reveals information on any object or person. It even comes with a defensive perk to block anyone else from snooping on his stats. Next up is the useful box, which is a game changer for inventory management. Instead of counting individual items, he can store everything by category with a capacity that scales off his mana. Samedi points out that since he can upgrade his skills, he should focus on how they will grow over time. She is clearly having a lot more fun with this process than he is. She breaks down how levels work, like getting more info from appraisals or more storage space. Shinomiya admits the whole idea of cultivating skills is pretty new to him. The goddess suggests a system where he gains new functions every time he levels up. He loves the idea, though he wonders how you even improve an inventory box that already has infinite space. Our boy asks how he is supposed to unlock these extra perks. Samedi tells him he can just choose whatever he wants as he levels, treating this whole isekai setup like a custom build. With the mechanics sorted, he circles back to the final selection for his 3 starting skills. He settles on daily life magic for his third pick. It is basically a cheat code that lets him acquire whatever utility skills he needs for a comfortable life. Samedi goes into deep thought about the world balance, worried that he might be getting a bit too powerful. She decides to put a limit on his progress by letting him learn 5 new skills for every level he gains. Samedi calls it a wrap now that the prep is finally finished. The light from her final blessing is blindingly bright as the goodbye process begins. Our boy hesitates for a second before dropping the big question. He asks if there is any chance they will ever see each other again in the next world. He admits that going solo in a new world might feel a bit too quiet. She tells him to stay on his grind with the faith skill and daily prayers if he wants a reunion. With a final wish for a great life, she sends him off into his new reality. A fantasy town stretches out below as his second journey officially kicks off. First things first, he needs to check the status screen and see what kind of stats he pulled. He realizes he is already a kid instead of the baby he was promised. The level 1 status window is already looking pretty stacked for a fresh start. He notices his name is missing from the list, but his resistances are looking great. He decides to quit the yapping and actually read through his skill descriptions. He spots some broken cheats like 10 times XP and actual divine protection on the list. World language lets him talk to almost anything, and his XP gain is boosted by 10 times. Plus, the God's Veil keeps his stats hidden from any nosy locals. The list of titles ranges from the God's Host to Abandoned Child. These labels are fine as long as they come with solid perks. One specific skill boosts his starting mana and hints at his path toward becoming more than human. Descriptions for titles like Nameless and the Blessed reveal even more depth. It turns out, even an abandoned child status can be cleared by finding a new family. With the status check done, it is time to move on to actual magic. He focuses on his daily life magic to see what is available. A sudden rush of information confirms the skills are acquired. The process is surprisingly seamless. The sheer variety of magic attributes is overwhelming. He has access to everything from fire and wind to holy and void magic. He clenches his fist and tells himself it is going to be all right. Closing his eyes, he focuses on the magic and starts chanting for it to come out. With a sudden poof, a tiny flame appears on the tip of his finger. He starts jumping for joy after seeing the magic actually work. Next on the list is testing out the useful box skill. A grid screen pops up in the air as he reaches out to touch it. Something catches his eye as an envelope suddenly pops into one of the inventory slots. He realizes it is a letter from Samedi himself. The letter reveals that a wicked god tried to mess with his reincarnation while the other deities were looking away. This interference is why his memories were supposed to be hidden for up to 10 years. He scratches his head and wonders if his bad luck is the reason he got abandoned in the first place. The letter explains that Samedi took care of the wicked god, so that part of the problem is over. It turns out his luck was so low in his past life because of that same interference. He never even got the chance to live a normal or blessed life before now. He notices the writing in the letter starts to sound a bit hesitant. Samedi gave him some extra abilities to apologize, but it seems like a new issue has popped up. Finding out his entire life's tragedy was just a divine clerical error is a lot to process. Samedi tries to look cute while apologizing, but that doesn't change the fact that our MC got kicked to the curb for no reason. There might be a silver lining if she can recover those lost memories from the last 10 years. She has mixed emotions about the whole situation since the god did not actually mean any harm. The past is coming back in painful waves of rejection and cold stone gates. Being labeled an accursed failure from birth led to a life of nothing but locked doors and quiet exits. His father's voice carries zero warmth as he discards his own son like trash. To the rest of the world, he was just a pathetic disgrace who did not belong in the family house. With nothing but a small bag and the clothes on his back, the long walk into the unknown begins. Every step away from the gate is a desperate gamble for survival in a world that already gave up on him. Recalling the moment his body finally reached its limit is enough to cause a massive headache. He was pushing for the capital with everything he had until the lights finally went out. A mysterious figure in a hood suddenly appears right as our MC hits the dirt. This chance encounter might be the only thing standing between him and a very short second life. The hooded figure does not just leave him behind. He pays for his passage and carries his safely to a waiting carriage. This mysterious traveler is making sure our boy gets where he needs to go. As the carriage disappears into the horizon, he wakes up and wonders if that silver-haired dude was his savior. He notices a letter left behind that points him toward the Adventurer Guild. The note is specific about finding a receptionist with a scar on his face. Staring at the guild entrance, he realizes this is just like the fantasy stories from his old life. His feet are still bandaged from the long journey, but the fear of this new world is slowly being replaced by hype. The town is buzzing with life as he explores the local markets and shops. Everything from the signs to the food stalls feels like a dream come true. He can barely contain his excitement as he follows the path toward his next goal. Welcome to the capital of the Recommendations Kingdom, where the Adventurer Guild headquarters is packed with people. The energy in the hall is intense as warriors and mages prepare for their next quests. He scans the room and is immediately intimidated by all the high-level players hanging around. Remembering the letter, he keeps an eye out for anyone with a scar. A vacant desk in the corner catches his attention, so he decides to head over and try his luck. Coming face to face with the receptionist is a total vibe check. The guy looks absolutely terrifying with a massive scar across his face and eyes that could kill. Meeting a boss-level character right away was not in the plan. The heart of the Recomedy's kingdom capital, where the massive headquarters of the Adventurer Guild stands tall. Our boy spots a receptionist with a terrifying scar and wonders if he is the one mentioned in the letter. He shrugs and trots over with a huge grin, deciding to just go for it. He steps up to the counter and politely asks if he has found the right place to check in. The man confirms that it is indeed a reception desk, making our MC sigh in relief. He is just glad he did not get the directions wrong on his very first day. The guild goes quiet as everyone starts whispering about the kid's insane guts. They cannot believe he is just chatting up the most intimidating guy in the room without flinching. A heavy silence fills the air as the receptionist stares down the tiny traveler. He finally breaks the tension by asking if the kid is actually scared of him. The kid gives him a blunt answer, admitting he only thought the guy looked a little scary at first. He reaches into his belongings and pulls out the envelope. He presents it to the man behind the counter, who looks caught off guard by the sudden delivery. The receptionist scans the contents and mentions recognizing the sender. When our boy asks for details, the man just dismisses his own comments as talking to himself. The man asks if there is any other business to attend to. Our MC suddenly panics, realizing he never thought about what happens after the letter is delivered. The realization of being in a fantasy world finally kicks in. He decides that with his magic skills, joining the guild as an adventurer is the perfect path forward. He loudly announces his intent to sign up for the guild. The receptionist explains the process but stops to ask if the kid actually has any money for the fee. The registration costs 1 silver coin, leaving the boy trembling at the high price. The man starts to offer a way out of the fee, but a sudden sound from our hero stops him. He digs through his bag and finds a coin hidden away. He wonders if the hooded man who saved him left it there on purpose as he holds it up for the receptionist. Goldo wraps things up and tells the kid to grab his stuff and follow. Our MC hands over the silver coin, officially starting his new life. While they walk, the big man introduces himself as Goldo and asks for a name. The kid suddenly freezes, realizing he has been nameless this entire time. Thinking fast, he pulls a name from his favorite old games and blurts out Laruku. Goldo actually likes it, making the kid let out a nervous laugh. They reach a training hall where Laruku finishes filling out his paperwork. Goldo looks it over, noting his choice of daggers and fire magic. Goldo gets ready to explain the entrance exam, but the kid is already showing off a tiny flame. He admits he is still learning, but he can at least manage the basics. The test is simple. Just hit the measuring dummy with everything he has got. Laruku stares at the armored target, wondering what kind of reaction he is about to get. Goldo points out the black plate on the chest of the dummy. Any damage he deals will be converted into a power level number right on that screen. Laruku locks in as the rules are laid out. Goldo explains he has exactly 1 hour to reach a target score of 300 points. Goldo gives him a quick pep talk before stepping back. Laruku keeps it simple at first, summoning a small flame just to feel out the target. The flame connects and the scoreboard immediately pings with a 101. It is a decent start, but he is still a long way from passing. To pass, he needs to triple his current output. He narrows his focus and starts channeling more mana into a larger fireball. He lets the blast fly, slamming the target with a heavy thud. The impact is way more intense this time around. The screen flickers but only ticks up to a 110. Seeing that giant fail sign really puts the pressure on. He takes a breath and regroups. There's still plenty of time on the clock and he is not about to walk away empty-handed. Our boy is on that grind, spamming fireballs as the numbers slowly climb. He refuses to stop until he hits the mark. The kid pushes himself until he deflates onto the floor, scaring the life out of Goldo. Even while he is eating dirt, he is checking the score and activating his appraisal skill. His status screen lights up with a bunch of new upgrades, including the deletion of his nameless title. He finally unlocked Magic Control, which is exactly the power-up he was looking for. He gets back on his feet and focuses all his mana into a single point. With his new skill active, the flame becomes way more intense than anything he has summoned before. He launches the massive fireball with everything he has got left. The dummy takes a heavy hit as Goldo watches on in pure disbelief. The scoreboard rings out with a 324, proving he cleared the test with room to spare. He flashes a quick smile before the exhaustion finally wins and he passes out. He wakes up in a quiet room under a warm blanket. He tries to find his bearings as a pair of eyes watch him from the side of the bed. Goldo breaks the news that he passed out from a mix of magic, overuse, and basically starving himself. Thankfully, he still managed to pass the test, which is a huge relief. Our boy feels a bit awkward, admitting he has not eaten a single thing since arriving in the capital. Goldo reminds him that taking care of his body is just as important as being a hero. His stomach lets out a massive growl that echoes through the room, making things even more awkward. Goldo just tells him to stop overthinking and leads him toward the food. Our boy follows Goldo toward the guild cafeteria, feeling lucky to have met someone so helpful. He tries to straighten up his clothes and act like a proper adventurer. He stops in front of a mirror and does a literal double take. It is his first time seeing his own face in this world, and he looks like a completely different person. Between the silver hair and the new features, he is actually looking pretty handsome. Goldo catches him admiring his reflection and tells him to move it or get left behind. A massive plate of food finally arrives at the table, looking like the best thing he has ever seen. The wait is finally over, and it is time to dig in. Fritz introduces himself as the cafeteria manager, while our boy demolishes his meal. He is surprised that a scary guy like Goldo actually brought a kid along for once. Fritz gives him a vigorous handshake and commends his guts. Most people would be shaking in their boots just looking at Goldo and his massive scar. After the kid calls him a nice person, Goldo's embarrassment gauge goes completely off the charts. He is definitely not used to getting compliments like that. Fritz tells Laruku to get along with the big guy since he is secretly the nicest man in the capital. Goldo just crosses his arms and tries to act professional while getting roasted. The teasing finally goes too far, and Goldo sends the manager flying with a well-timed kick. He is officially done with the chatter for the day. Fritz warns the boy not to take his jokes too seriously as he picks himself up off the floor. Meanwhile, the food is so good that nothing else in the room matters. Laruku stuffs his face until his cheeks are bulging like a squirrel. He can barely manage to agree when Goldo mentions he has something important to give him. Goldo pulls out a metal plate on a chain. "It is this necklace," he says, presenting the official guild item. The tag works as proof of membership and doubles as a universal ID for traveling. He warns the boy not to lose it. The mood shifts when Goldo says they need a drop of blood for the registry. Our boy is clearly not a fan of needles. After a quick prick, the first drop hits the metal plate. He can barely watch as the registry process finally finishes. Laruku watches as his new name is engraved onto the metal surface. He asks if the plate is supposed to change color. Goldo explains that adventurer ranks are color-coded. Copper is for beginners, while silver and gold are reserved for the elite. He realizes his silver-haired savior was likely a high-rank adventurer. Goldo tells him to spend the night at the doctor office since it is getting late. The next morning, Laruku heads to the guildmaster's office as instructed. He is bracing himself for someone even more terrifying than Goldo, but he finds the big guy already inside with some company. He gives the door a polite knock and steps into the high-class room. Goldo greets him with a casual wave while the boy politely bows back. An energetic voice from the side immediately starts roasting the scarred receptionist for his lack of manners. It seems one of the people in the room is shocked that a kid actually has the guts to talk to Goldo like a normal person. The two women introduce themselves as the guild master Lee Fia and the deputy master Lalatina. They insist on being called Fia and Lala, looking way more approachable than the boy expected. Our boy takes a seat right next to his favorite giant bodyguard, which Fia finds adorable, while Lala goes to brew some tea. The guildmaster can't stop gushing about how close the two of them look. The mood turns serious when Fia asks the kid about his family situation. Something weird happened during his registration, so they need some context. Laruku calmly explains that he was kicked out of his house recently and is currently flying solo. Goldo seems to have expected as much, while Fia offers the boy an out if the topic is too painful. She is clearly curious about the reason behind such a harsh exile. Laruku reveals that his family labeled him a failure because he showed no skills during their appraisal ritual. This sends Goldo into a panic since he saw the kid use magic just yesterday. Our boy explains that he has a special skill that blocks appraisal magic, which is why his stats stayed hidden. This kind of power is almost unheard of for a kid his age. Lala isn't taking his word for it and decides to test her own high-level appraisal magic. She fires up a huge magic circle to see if she can crack his defenses. Even the deputy master can't see a single thing. Fia thinks it is amazing, but Lala remains silent. The interview is finally over since they verified his story. Goldo gets the orders to take him to his next location while the girls say their goodbyes. They head through the guild hallways until they stop in front of a suspicious-looking door. Goldo keeps things mysterious when the kid asks where they are going. It turns out his very first quest is just warehouse chores. Most people would hate this, but our MC is ready to get his hands dirty. The warehouse is filled with mountains of junk. It looks like Goldo finally found someone to handle all this work. A guild is the home base for adventurers, packed with everything they need to survive. Basically, you take on jobs from people, finish the task, and get paid. Goldo explained all the perks of registration over a meal. Now it was finally time for the first official request, and the pressure was on. Goldo admits he really needed the help, but the warehouse is a total disaster. While Goldo hauls heavy crates, our boy finds some pretty weird stuff in the piles of junk. Looking at the sheer amount of clutter, it feels like an impossible task even for two people. Despite the mountain of work ahead, he decides to give it his all and push through. They start working at high speed, but the pile barely even shrinks. After some intense manual labor, even Goldo has to admit that this job is way tougher than it looks. He realizes that at this rate they will be here forever. Suddenly, a light bulb goes off in his head as he remembers he has a broken cheat skill for storage. He reaches out to the pile and decides to test his luck. A massive grid system appears in the air, ready to swallow up all the inventory. It works exactly like I thought. The storage screen shows everything neatly sorted into inventory slots. Our boy realizes he can move things in and out within a 5-meter range. Mastering this broken ability makes the task look easy. Stored items stay perfectly preserved even after being taken out. With a heavy thud, he drops a massive crate right where it needs to be. He gets to work at high speed while Goldo keeps his head down in the background. At this rate, the entire warehouse will be empty in seconds. Goldo turns around to check on the progress. The shocking sight of an empty room leaves him completely speechless. The warehouse is spotless. Our MC waves with a big smile, letting the big guy know the job is already finished. Goldo loses it and demands to know where the mountain of junk went. When he hears it was just another rare storage skill, he can only sigh at the kid's sheer luck. The recognition for his hard work feels good, even if he prefers to just get things done. He thanks Goldo while keeping a humble attitude. They are ready to keep the momentum going. The duo decides to head straight into the next area without missing a beat. He definitely wasn't expecting the mountain of work to get even bigger. Goldo casually mentions that there are still 3 more rooms to go. The grind is finally catching up to him as he watches Goldo walk away to give the report. Even with cheat skills, this kind of manual labor takes a serious toll. A quick look back at the chaos reminds him how lucky he is. This job would have been a total nightmare without his special inventory powers. Leafia enters the scene with zero chill and a lot of volume. She comes charging down the hallway as if her life depends on reaching him. The guildmaster is on a mission to see his storage magic for herself. After handing over a silver coin, she can only watch as he makes it vanish before she can even blink. The guildmaster has zero concept of personal space once she sees a high-tier skill. She is completely obsessed with how he managed to store that coin without even touching it. Our boy is straight up suffocating in the name of admiration. Thankfully, Goldo steps in to peel the crazy elf off him before he actually meets his maker. Leafia is ready to demand a full demo of every skill he owns. Lala just watches the chaos with a headache, knowing her boss has officially lost all chill. The deputy master finally restores some order and gives the guys an early out for the day. She apologizes for the mess, explaining that rare magic is basically catnip for their leader. As they make their escape, Goldo offers to play tour guide and show him the sights of the capital. It is the perfect chance for a much-needed break after the warehouse grind. The invitation is an instant mood booster. They spend the afternoon hitting the local stalls and grabbing snacks while taking in the city vibes. Time for a serious wardrobe upgrade. Goldo insists on footing the bill for a fresh fit, refusing to let the kid spend a single copper of his own hard-earned money. Goldo finally gives in and admits they are both equally stubborn. Our MC just hits him with a smug grin as they vibe through the city. Turns out Goldo is a local legend because every shopkeeper they pass is shouting out to him. They are all checking to see if the big guy is actually taking a break for once. The situation gets chaotic when a crowd swarms them with gifts and drinks. Someone even starts stretching our boy's cheek like it is made of taffy. Goldo finally peels the crowd off and checks to see if the kid is still in one piece. Laruku just laughs it off. Even though his face probably feels like it went through a blender, the kid is genuinely stunned by how much everyone loves Goldo. The big man just admits he is usually a loner at the guild because the people there find him too intense. He gets vulnerable for a second and admits the scar made him look so scary that he just stopped trying to make friends. He is basically used to being the scary guy in the corner that everyone avoids. They finally pull up to their destination before the conversation can get too deep. Goldo calls a halt, just as they reach the entrance of a building. The pair stops in front of a cozy inn with a sign of a waving bear hanging above the door. Goldo checks in with the kid while hoping they have enough room for one more. A bell clangs as they step inside and get greeted by a massive guy with a familiar face. He welcomes them with a huge grin, and seems like he has been expecting their arrival. This man named Dat starts patting Goldo on the shoulder and reveals that his brother Fritz already told him to get a room ready. It seems the guild staff was one step ahead of them the whole time. He introduces himself as the owner of the Small Bear Lodging, and confirms he is indeed Fritz's younger brother. The family resemblance is so strong it is almost like looking at a mirror image. Laruku plays it cool and introduces himself while being low-key stunned by the twin energy. He decides to book a stay for a full month with 2 meals a day included in the package. The kid suddenly panics about the bill for a whole month, but Dats just starts laughing his head off. The big man clearly finds the boy's worry about money way too funny for his own good. Dats nudges Guldo and reveals that the receptionist is actually the city's savior because of Guldo's legendary reputation. Anyone traveling with him gets to stay at the inn for free unconditionally. Imelda is more than happy to help since Guldo is the one asking. She officially welcomes the kid to the inn while the big man hands over the responsibility. Key in hand, she tells him to hurry up because lunch is about to be served. Our boy is already planning his trip straight to the cafeteria. Goldo heads back to the guild after leaving the kid in good hands. A loud thanks follows him as he makes his exit for the day. Next morning, the birds are chirping and it is time for a fresh start. He manifests a glob of floating water and gets a makeshift shower going that actually hits the spot. Towel in hand, he admits a real shower would be better, but magic gets the job done for now. He dries off and calls up his status screen to see what changed. A new surprise pops up called Magilt's Divine Protection. His stats took a jump, and this blessing makes all his magic more efficient while boosting the power. He sends a quick thank you to the new god before facing the laundry mountain. Looking at the bucket of wet clothes, he starts scrolling through his magic elements for a way to get the job done. He places his hands on the bucket to test out his wind magic. The water starts spinning like a whirlpool. He adds some soap and turns the bucket into a mini washing machine. Then he uses his skills to swap out the dirty water for a fresh rinse. He finally carries the clean load to dry. Seeing his laundry on the line makes him appreciate just how useful magic is. He heads down to the dining room for some breakfast. It is finally time to eat. Laruku is lost in the flavor while enjoying some fresh bread. Suddenly, a voice from below the table calls out his name. He nearly jumps out of his skin. A young girl named Anna climbs onto the chair opposite him. She realizes they are about the same age and introduces herself. He tries to be polite, but Anna is not having it. She demands that he drop the formal titles and just be casual. He finally agrees, and she gives him a bright smile. She waves goodbye as she heads out the door. Her mother has to shout a reminder because she is already running late for school. Imelda apologizes for the noise and asks Laruku to get along with her daughter, which he happily agrees to. He watches Anna rush out and thinks about how lively she is. With a sigh, he settles back in to finish his breakfast. Suddenly, three tough-looking guys tower over him, giving off a total menace vibe. The bald one leans in close and says he has a question, making Laruku jump in his seat. Instead of a threat, the guys break down into a massive sob fest. They are literally bawling their eyes out while a cuckoo clock marks the time in the background. They are absolutely heartbroken that such a good kid was abandoned, calling his parents evil. They tell him to ask them for anything, while Fritz chuckles at how popular the kid has become. The trio keeps nodding along in agreement. Fritz realizes they are just happy to have a normal conversation since people usually judge adventurers based on their scary faces. The bald guy asks about his plans and offers to let him tag along to the guild. Laruku happily accepts, which actually makes the big guy blush as they head out into the sunny morning. While they walk, Laruku asks why everyone seems to avoid using Guldo's reception desk. The big guy scratches his head, admitting there is a specific reason behind that. A flashback reveals that 10 years ago, a dragon attacked the city. Bad timing meant most adventurers were already away exploring a distant labyrinth, leaving the capital wide open. Guldo was the only warrior left to protect everyone. He went all out and took down the beast by himself, saving the city from certain doom. The victory was brutal, costing him his right eye and his leg. The other adventurers only found out after it was over, and they still beat themselves up for not being there to help. Everything finally clicks for Laruku as he realizes why the locals are so obsessed with being nice to Guldo. He is basically the city savior, and everyone wants to pay him back. Our boy is hyped to know his mentor is such a legend, but there is one depressing catch. Even though he is a hero, people still avoid him just because his face looks scary. It is honestly pretty tragic. Laruku heads back to the guild as Guldo instructed, but the big guy is nowhere to be found. He looks around the crowded lobby, wondering where his mentor went. A sketchy whisper drifts from a dark corner, where Guldo is hiding behind a wall. He looks completely stressed while desperately signaling Laruku to come over quietly. Oblivious to the tension, Laruku yells out his mentor's name, triggering a massive shush from the veteran. The surrounding adventurers can't believe this kid is being so loud around someone so intimidating. The duo sneaks into a private room and locks the door. Guldo double-checks the hallway for eavesdroppers, leaving Laruku sweating over why they need so much secrecy. A heavy leather pouch hits the table with the unmistakable jingle of cold hard cash. Laruku nearly short-circuits when he counts 30 silver coins and tries to refuse the massive payout. Guldo isn't having it and explains that this is the legitimate reward for yesterday's warehouse job. Most rookies take days to finish that quest, but since our boy soloed it in record time, the full commission is all his. Guldo points out that while the cash is light work for top rankers, they need to keep it hush-hush to avoid a scene. Laruku is totally down to stay low-key. The mood shifts when Goldo reveals that he actually knows the guy who saved Laruku. Our boy looks like he just saw a ghost, finally getting a lead on his savior. Goldo explains that the guy basically ordered him to turn Laruku into a top-tier adventurer. Everything is clicking now, though. Laruku still wonders why a stranger would go so far for him. Goldo drops the tough guy act for a second and gives him a wholesome head pat. Goldo is low-key blushing while admitting the kid has real potential. Laruku takes the compliment and immediately asks for more details on the mysterious savior. Turns out the savior was a loner who disappeared years ago to handle some business. He has not been seen since, leaving his true identity a mystery. Goldo gets a bit uncomfortable and asks to change the subject for now. Laruku plays it cool as they head over to check out a massive weapon rack. Goldo offers a full arsenal for training and lets Laruku choose his own destiny. The mentor is ready to turn him into a pro. Checking his hidden stats confirms a natural talent for short swords. He makes his pick and gets ready for business. Training becomes a brutal routine as the days blur into constant combat. The sound of clashing metal never stops. Even with massive improvements, landing a hit on a legend is proving to be a nightmare. Laruku is putting every ounce of effort into this mock battle. The experience gap is massive, and the floor becomes Laruku's best friend. Goldo is clearly enjoying the teaching process while the rookie reaches his limit. A missing leg is zero handicap for a warrior of this caliber. The reality check hits hard for the young apprentice. Goldo can't believe a talent like this was ever treated as trash by his own family. Our boy realizes he needs a solid lie fast before his secrets get out. Our boy explains he unlocked an appraisal skill after seeing a random fruit when he was first exiled. Goldo is absolutely losing it because this talent is way too rare for a rookie to just stumble upon. Goldo suggests a career in business, but the rookie refuses to give up on being an adventurer. Hearing his resolve, Goldo mentions that the guildmaster will personally handle his magic training. Leafia is all smiles as Goldo gives her a massive shout-out for her top-class magic skills. He tells his student to take these lessons seriously because she is one of the strongest in the country. Class is officially in session, and our rookie is looking a bit tense at his new desk. Fia asks about his magic types, and he casually drops a list of 10 different attributes. The guildmaster is completely stunned and tries to process the sheer amount of power she just heard about. She cuts him off before he can list even more, realizing her new student is beyond broken. Laruku admits he has never even read a book on magic and asks if 10 attributes is actually a lot. Fia completely loses her mind and screams that his power levels are totally off the charts. Magic training gets put on hold so he can learn some basic common sense first. His schedule is now packed with combat in the morning and study sessions with the boss every afternoon. Laruku gets dragged into a seat, feeling exhausted after his morning training session. While he groans about the backbreaking work ahead, a cheerful woman suddenly appears to greet him. She looks friendly enough, but our boy has no idea who she is. Still processing the sudden guest, our rookie asks for her name. She strikes a pose and takes a very long pause to think about her own introduction. With a playful wink, she claims to be a good friend of the legendary Goldo. Laruku is clearly suspicious and tells her that the big man is currently tied up with work. The mysterious woman points her finger directly at Laruku, revealing he was her actual target. Nearby adventurers immediately look the other way, sensing that a major headache is about to begin. Goldo walks in wondering why everyone is avoiding him again, only to find the one person he didn't want to see. He lets out a groan of disgust, while she acts offended by his rude reaction. She mentions coming here for some fun and an interesting rumor, which is enough to send Goldo into a panic. He doesn't wait for another word, snatching up Laruku and dashing out of the room while she cheers for his strength. Their escape is cut short when they run straight into Fia, who is just as surprised to see them. The guildmaster makes a weird scrunchy face at the scene, leaving our rookie sweating from the pure awkwardness. Leafia pieces the puzzle together while her old master offers a cheeky greeting. Goldo whispers to the rookie, questioning if this newcomer is really the boss's student. The guildmaster sighs, admitting she kept quiet to avoid this exact headache. A major bombshell drops when the blonde mystery man reveals his true identity. He is not just a traveler, but the actual king of the entire country. Common sense flies out the window as the rookie tries to reconcile the man with his title. Questions about royal duty fill the air as the king ignores every formal rule in the book. Ars insists on being called by his name since they are far from the castle. He acts way too casual for a monarch, even throwing up some playful signs. Politeness goes out the window when a heavy hand interrupts the introductions. Goldo delivers a swift chop to the royal head, asking if the queen knows her husband is out causing trouble. The king can only groan as his dignity gets crushed in seconds. The boss decides she is done with the drama and calls for a quick exit. She orders the king to be dragged back to the castle before starting a teleportation spell. A bright flash fills the room as she vanishes, leaving the guys to handle the fallout. Silence returns as the royal chaos clears out, leaving only a fading echo behind. Goldo cracks his neck, feeling the weight of the royal drama. Our rookie is left standing there, still trying to process the heavy news. This guy might be a major nuisance who ducks his duties for fun, but he is no joke. Ours is a legendary genius who mastered both the blade and the mystic arts. He is a walking contradiction, pairing a carefree attitude with power most people can only dream of. Exhaustion hits as the guildmaster sighs, blaming the king for her sudden fatigue. Goldo agrees it is time to call it a night before they head back. Morning arrives with a wide yawn as our boy wakes up at the inn. His grogginess vanishes when he spots a mysterious letter sitting on his bedside table. Goldo is immediately stressed when he sees the royal seal on that note. The message is a direct invite to the castle, and the big man is already losing his mind over the king's antics. Ignoring the note is not an option, since the seal is packed with magical trackers. Goldo explains that skipping this meeting would be treated like a crime, leaving them with zero choice. Goldo shouts out that they are going regardless of the trouble. He knows it is going to be a headache, but a direct royal order is impossible to dodge. The scale of the royal palace is enough to leave any newcomer breathless. Goldo admits even other kingdoms cannot compete with the sheer size of this fortress. Curiosity leads Laruku to ask how the king funded such a massive build. Goldo explains the ruler was a top-rank adventurer who spent his fortune on extensions because he liked big buildings. Back when he was just training, this dude blazed through the ranks like a speedrunner. He cleared every quest in sight and stacked a fortune. Even looking at him now, it is hard to believe he is the one wearing the crown. Goldo totally agrees. Remembering how he doubted the guy's royal status from the very first meeting, the group makes their way through the palace to the royal chambers. A maid announces their arrival, but the only response is a bunch of crashing sounds and loud thumping from behind the door. Goldo slams the door open to check if the king is still alive, only to find the room is a paper storm. The whole place is a chaotic mess of flying documents. The king is buried alive under a mountain of paperwork. He just tosses a few sheets into the air with a casual morning greeting while struggling to breathe. Goldo is not having any of it and starts laying into him with that royal letter for abusing his power. He finally drags the king out of the paper pile, though he is still steaming about the whole situation. The king just gives a smug little look while hugging his letter. He knows for a fact that Goldo would have ghosted him if he did not pull the royal authority card. Goldo is completely done with the royal nonsense and starts heading for the exit. He stops dead in his tracks when the king mentions that this meeting actually concerns Laruku. Everyone sits back down to talk like adults. The king looks pretty annoyed and tells them they really should have shared this info much earlier. The atmosphere shifts when the king asks if Laruku was really kicked out of his family home. Goldo loses his cool immediately, shouting at the ruler for bringing up such a sensitive topic. Our boy does not try to hide it and confirms the truth. He explains that he did not just lose his house, but he was even stripped of his name and given the title of a nameless abandoned child. His hand tightens into a fist as the weight of those memories sets in. The king goes silent, clearly feeling for the kid after hearing how far his own family went to erase him. The king reaches out and gives Laruku a gentle head pat. He offers a sincere apology for bringing up such a difficult and painful past. Laruku tries to smile it off and says it is fine, but the sadness is still written all over his face. Without another word, the king reaches into his robe to pull out a mysterious document. Ars places a grim document on the table, explaining it is a death certificate sent from a noble. It details the supposed death of a child during a monster attack deep in the forest. Laruku is left stunned, struggling to connect the dots as the gravity of the situation sinks in. Ars points out that the most suspicious part of the entire situation is the identity of the sender. The king confirms the senders are almost certainly Laruku's former parents. He delivers the final blow by revealing that our boy is looking at his very own death certificate. Ars drops the heaviest bombshell right at the start of the meeting. He explains that the document on the table is almost certainly Laruku's very own death certificate. Goldo immediately loses his cool at the news. He shouts that the entire claim is a joke because the boy is literally alive and well right in front of them. The king points out specific details in the report that match our boy perfectly. It describes a deceased youth with rare gray hair who was noteworthy only for being completely incompetent. Laruku reads the names for himself and feels the sting of total betrayal. He confirms that the ones who filed this fake report are definitely his former parents. Ars stays focused on a single detail that doesn't quite add up. Goldo picks up on the vibe and correctly guesses the king is stuck on the part about the boy being called a failure. The king reveals he has been keeping a very close eye on things through his personal spies. He mentions that both his sources and the guildmaster have nothing but praise for the boy's magic potential. Ars locks eyes with him, his expression turning much more serious. He wants to know exactly why there is such a massive gap between the family's official claims and the boy's actual power. Goldo is not buying the sudden curiosity. He narrows his eyes and asks why the king even cares. The king brushes it off as simple curiosity about how an exile with no skills can pull off high-level magic. He turns to the boy and asks him to explain the secret. Learning about the camouflage effect of the god's veil definitely gets a reaction. Ars admits that standing out even among special abilities makes it top class. Laruku opens up about his past, admitting he thought his life was over when he was kicked out. Now that he is actually having fun, he realizes it might have been the best thing to happen. Goldo is ready to bounce the second the business is done. Ars immediately goes into full host mode, begging them to stay the night, since it has been so long. The king turns on the puppy dog eyes to guilt trip them into staying. Goldo just points out his duty to get Laruku back to the inn safely. Ars finds the perfect loophole and decides the boy should just stay at the castle too. He pulls our MC close while laughing at his own genius. Goldo narrows his eyes and gets straight to the point, asking the king what his real motive is. Ars just sweats under the pressure, looking like he's hiding a major secret. The king admits he's in hot water with his wife and thinks bringing guests home will save his skin. Goldo isn't having any of it and grabs our boy to make a quick exit before they get dragged into the mess. Ars goes full drama mode and begs them to stay as a personal favor to save a friend. Laruku is just curious about what kind of terrifying woman the queen must be to make a king act like this. Doors slam shut on the king's pathetic pleas as the group finally moves out. Goldo explains that the queen is the only person on the planet who can actually keep the king in line. The mood shifts as they walk, with Goldo pointing out that Laruku has every right to be furious about the fake death report. Our boy just takes a second to process the heavy reality of being officially discarded. A bright smile from Laruku settles the matter, since having Goldo care enough to get mad for him is all the closure he needs. The giant guy gets flustered and tries to hide it by aggressively messing with the boy's hair, while a voice yells at them for being too friendly. The king isn't ready to give up yet and draws his blade with a desperate look in his eyes. He apologizes in advance before deciding that if they won't stay willingly, he'll just have to use force. Ars decides he is not taking no for an answer and starts charging up a crystal attack just to force a sleepover. Goldo can only watch in disbelief as the king goes off the deep end over a guest. The palace turns into a frozen zone as Ars lets loose a blast while the guards just stand there. Goldo tries to keep our boy safe while the professionals explain they are not allowed to stop their king from throwing a tantrum. The king is now dashing around with a sword like he is in a speedrun. Goldo scoops up Laruku and complains that this dude uses his royal powers for the most ridiculous reasons. Goldo tells Laruku to cover his ears before things get loud. A clash rings out as the two powerhouses trade blows in the middle of the palace. Our scarred legend decides he is done playing games and lets out a roar so loud it sends everyone reeling. With the guards and the king too dizzy to move, he bids them a quick farewell to make his escape. The chaos grinds to a halt when a new player enters the chat. A woman in a fur-lined gown approaches with a full escort, and Laruku immediately recognizes the queen. Queen Ima hits them with a gentle smile and confirms she is on their side. She admits the king needs a serious reality check and asks for a little help delivering the punishment. With the queen's blessing, Ars gets a terrifying look in his eyes and claims he doesn't need to hold back anymore. That confidence lasts for exactly 1 second before he gets dragged into a dust cloud of absolute violence, while the queen just keeps smiling. Emma reaches out and takes the boy's hands, offering a sincere apology for all the royal chaos. She confirms his identity with a gentle look, and our boy can only nod along with a wide-eyed response. While the king continues to scream in the background, the queen formally introduces herself with a calm expression. Laruku keeps it polite and thanks her for the hospitality despite the literal war zone happening 3 feet away. Looking back at the pile of defeated guards, Laruku realizes he has learned way more about the royal family's dynamic than he ever expected. It is a lot to process for a kid who just wanted a quiet life. Someone finally puts a stop to the nonsense by delivering a massive set of bumps to the king's head. The royal palace has zero chill when it comes to keeping their leader in check. Goldo apologizes for letting the situation get out of hand, but the queen is already focused on the next step. She gives a dark look and promises that the king's punishment will be handled personally. Laruku shows his sweet side by checking on the bruised king, which immediately earns him a scolding for being too kind. The queen wraps things up by inviting them to stay the night, and since the chaos has finally died down, our boy does not see a reason to say no. Laruku is practically vibrating with excitement. Stars in his eyes, he cheers about the sleepover. Emma just smiles while keeping the king in check. Walking through the palace halls, Laruku gets curious about their history. Goldo explains that back in the day, they were all just a bunch of adventurers running quests together. Turns out, the queen was just as wild as the king. She was a noble daughter who followed Ars into adventuring and proved to be a menace on the battlefield. Goldo shrugs off the idea of being nervous around royalty. To him, they are just friends, and calling them royals feels like an insult to actual monarchs. Emma takes offense to being called weird, claiming she is perfectly normal. Of course, she says this while radiating enough bloodlust to summon a giant spectral snake. She quickly shifts back to a gentle smile and invites everyone to dinner. Laruku just nods along while she tells him not to believe Goldo's stories. A young royal named Rio spots them and comes running. Goldo is shocked to see how much the kid has grown in just 3 years. Laruku and the new boy trade confused stares, both wondering who the other is. Rio is completely caught off guard by seeing another kid in the palace. Rio immediately jumps to conclusions and starts screaming about Goldo having a secret child. He is genuinely hurt that he did not get an invite to the wedding. Goldo is practically vibrating as he tries to shut down the rumors. He starts to explain the actual situation before things get weirder. After learning the truth, the boy recovers his composure and drops a sparkly introduction. He is Riolas, the eldest son of the king. The prince offers a friendly nickname, but our boy is too busy panicking over the sudden royal attention. He can barely get out a formal greeting while his hand is being shaken. Rio thinks a nickname is fine for private talks, but Laruku is shaking his head at high speed. There is no way he is calling a prince by a cute short name. Queen Ima decides to join the fun by asking for a nickname too. Rio holds onto the hand of the MC like a vice, refusing to let go until he gets his way. Goldo points out that since he is already being casual with the king, nicknames for the rest of the family should not be a big deal. Rio and Ima are thrilled when he finally gives in, though he realizes this whole family is cut from the same chaotic cloth. Scenes shift to the dining hall and the palace does not miss with the catering. Our MC is having the time of his life with the buffet while Goldo just watches him geek out. He spots 2 girls across the table, one locked in a book and the other busy putting away snacks. They seem to be in their own world while the rest of the table chatters. Wondering if they are the prince's sisters, he decides he will need to give them a proper greeting when the time is right. Ama drops the news that the royal bath is prepped and ready for use. Laruku is hyped to finally get his first proper soak since being reincarnated. The royal tub is basically an indoor ocean with marble statues and steam for days. Our boy is stunned by the scale of the room, realizing that palace life comes with some serious perks. Finally in the water, Goldo explains that the king is a bath enthusiast. Even so, the sheer size of this thing feels like it is on a different level than just liking baths, soaking up the royal treatment. Our MC is living his best life in the palace tub, vowing that his future home must have one of these installed. Next morning, the vibe shifts to the training grounds. Goldo and Rio are squaring up for a session of serious morning cardio. Our boy watches from the sidelines as the prince formally asks for a mock battle before they leave. He is eager to show off how much he has grown in 3 years. Goldo accepts the challenge, realizing instantly that the kid is playing for keeps. The sound of clashing steel fills the air as they trade heavy blows. The prince is putting on a masterclass in swordsmanship, but Goldo keeps his cool. He gives credit to the kid's skills while waiting for the perfect moment to counter. One calculated sword slide later and the match is over. Goldo hits him with a reality check, reminding the prince that he still has a long way to go. Rio catches his breath and admits the old man hasn't lost a step. Goldo brushes it off, though he is secretly impressed by how far the kid has come. Rio downplays his progress, even as the guards celebrate him breaking the king's old training records. A vow to take the lead one day earns the prince a rare smirk of respect from his mentor. Formal thanks wrap up the visit, but the queen quickly notices her husband is missing. The polite excuse for the king's absence carries a weight of pure terror. One look at the king quite literally hung out to dry is enough to stop any further questions. Life shifts back to a busy cycle of magic study, heavy training, and daily chores. Royal luxury has fueled a new obsession for our boy, and he is ready to grind quests until he secures a private bath of his own. The guild hits our boy with a sudden summons, and he is already dreading whatever is coming next. He spots a fancy wagon pulling up to the entrance, which is basically a rare event for this place. A mysterious girl in a frilly dress finally steps out to make her grand entrance. Laruku does a double take the second he recognizes those ribbons. It is the same princess from the castle, and her showing up at the guild can only mean one thing: trouble is on the way. Morning rinse in the sun, our MC is starting the day fresh and feeling the good weather. One sneeze and he is already dreaming of a proper bath. Breakfast is ready, so he heads inside to dry off, meeting up with Doldos, the big boss of the local inns. He is making sure our boy is staying well fed. The mood gets serious as Doldos drops a warning about a suspicious outsider. Even in a safe guild, it pays to stay alert. Having a squad like this means he never has to worry. They are officially locking in as his allies. Peace and quiet ends fast when Anna crashes the party in tears. She is practically begging for a miracle. The emergency is a total 0 on her math test. Her mom is definitely going to crash out when she sees this score. Anna is practically begging for a miracle. Our boy doesn't even hesitate and gives her a solid sure. She is instantly hyped by the answer. The lessons have to be at night, but she is more than ready to start. Anna is so grateful she jumps on the table to thank him. Her mom is crashing out and screams for her to get down right now. Life settles into a nice rhythm of tutoring and training. Laruku is even getting bold enough to talk smack while sparring with Guldo. Experience counts for a lot in this world. Guldo dodges with zero effort, leaving our MC to faceplant right onto the mat. It is hard to believe Guldo thinks his skills are useless just because of his prosthetic leg. The dude is still a monster in a fight. Another day, another loss. Guldo gives him a head pat and tells him to take it slow while our boy sulks on the ground. Guldo mentions he has a meeting at the castle too, so our boy decides they should head out together. Rubbing the kid's forehead, Guldo tries to smooth out that worried face. King Ars looks drained while venting about the nobles aiming for our MC. Rumors are even spreading that the boy is his secret illegitimate son. Guldo finally loses his cool and starts yelling about the greedy nobility. Speed lines fill the frame as Ars trembles from the sudden outburst. Taking a deep breath, he admits there is another topic that will be a real headache. The mood gets heavy when Ars reveals a new letter arrived from the boy's former parents. Looking down, Laruku knows they probably wrote something disgusting again. Those parents have the nerve to claim their son might still be alive just so they can meet him. Recalling the days he spent locked in a wooden cage, the boy cannot believe their audacity. A clenched fist shows the king is just as angry as he asks if our boy wants to see them. Shaking his head, Laruku makes it clear he has zero interest in that meeting. Ars is still fuming, mentioning that while he cannot strip those parents of their rank just yet, he is definitely going to find other ways to make their lives miserable. The sheer pressure coming off his makes it clear he is not joking. Guldo is not exactly helping the mood either. Even our boy can feel the terrifying aura radiating from the big guy. Ars slams his hand down, getting back to the real issue. With the nobles plotting to kidnap our MC, his safety is the top priority, and he has finally come up with a plan to stop them. He drops a total bombshell, asking the two of them how they would feel about staying together permanently. Guldo nearly chokes on his drink, and Laruku can only stare in shock. Ars clarifies that he wants them to become an actual family. Since Guldo is a legendary hero, becoming his son would make the greedy nobles think twice before trying anything. Our boy is absolutely beaming at the idea. The thought of having Guldo as his new dad is the best news he has ever heard. Laruku starts to worry if Guldo is actually on board with this. But the big guy is just busy having a complete mental breakdown from embarrassment. Ars smirks, asking him if he is really going to turn down such a sweet deal. Guldo is losing it from embarrassment as he yells that he is definitely not doing this. Catching his breath, the big guy gets serious and asks if the boy is actually cool with having him as a father. Our MC turns the question right back on him, worrying if his own baggage makes him a bad son. Guldo just smiles, reminding him that he is just a hardworking kid who is doing his best. With a huge grin, the boy officially accepts and asks his new dad to look after him. Leaning back with a cool smirk, Guldo tells the kid to leave everything to him. While the big guy gives his new son some happy head pats, Ars decides it is time to get the official paperwork moving. Looking out the window, the king thinks about those trash parents and how they are nothing but trouble. He watches the darkening sky, sensing that a heavy storm is heading their way. Deep in the forest, a mysterious hooded figure wonders who is behind all the recent rumors. A sudden sneeze interrupts their thoughts as the story reaches a major turning point. Roselia introduces herself with a polite smile, reminding Laruku of their brief encounter back at the castle. Her companion apologizes for the sudden visit and asks for Laruku's help with a special request regarding Leah. Roselia blushes while asking him to use her nickname, making Laruku realize she is nothing like her chaotic father. Lalatina brings out some tea to help everyone settle into the conversation. The royal guest mentions Laruku's academic talent and proposes a job for him as Leah's personal private tutor. Caught off guard, Laruku tries to politely decline the offer due to his tight training schedule. Before he can finish his excuse, Leafia jumps in with way too much energy to accept the deal herself. Leafia drops a massive career pivot. She suggests he swap his study time for a job as a private tutor. The idea sends Laruku into a spiral. He starts thinking everyone is abandoning him again, which makes Leafia freak out trying to fix the vibe. Turns out he is just too smart for school. Fia admits she already taught him the entire curriculum and has been feeding him advanced magic books that even veteran elves would struggle with. Princess Leah is totally down for the plan. While our boy finally realizes why those books felt so heavy, he is still worried about actually learning magic. Emma steps up to handle the training. She shows off her crackling power and promises to teach him personally after his tutor's shifts are over. She offers him a magic rose to seal the deal. Laruku is absolutely hyped and thanks her for the chance to learn from the best. Back at the inn, he chows down on a sandwich. The decision is final, and his new life as a royal tutor starts today. Guldo worries about the daily grind of traveling to the castle, but Laruku has it all figured out. Between the guildmaster and the king himself, our boy has the most overqualified commute in history. It feels weird using royalty for odd jobs, but Guldo tells him to just lean into being spoiled. Those two were more than happy to volunteer anyway. The schedule is packed with training, warehouse shifts, tutoring, and magic practice. Goldo reaches out for a rough head pat and warns the kid about working himself into the ground. A rare moment of soft energy from the legendary warrior. Laruku just smiles and promises to keep his health in mind. Time skip 3 weeks of the new routine fly by. Back at the castle, the tutoring sessions are in full swing. Princess Leia leans over her desk to ask for help with the next problem. Looking back at their awkward first meeting, things have finally chilled out. The tension is gone and they are breezing through the lessons together. Laruku finishes up the lesson with Leia and gives her a perfect score before checking in with the king. Since his tutoring duties are done, it is time for some high-level magic practice, with Ars literally guiding his hands to feel the power. Just as he gets the hang of it, he notices something unexpected. Ars realizes he forgot a major introduction and mentions his other son, Wallace. Laruku is curious about the new name, but Ars is confident they will hit it off since they are both total bookworms. Our boy admits that books are his favorite way to learn everything about his new world. The king leads him to the royal library, explaining that his son is basically a permanent resident there. Inside the massive room, we find a quiet boy in glasses completely lost in his book. This is the mystery prince Wallace. Ars makes the official introduction, and Laruku goes in for a polite handshake. Wallace recognizes him right away as the guy looking after his sister's studies. It is a very chill first meeting between two scholars. Wallace apologizes for being a shut-in and not saying hi sooner, but Laruku tells him not to worry about it. Since he is a frequent guest and this is their first overlap, there are no hard feelings at all. They are already establishing some solid mutual respect. Ars pokes fun at his son for being a library hermit, but Wallace has the most relatable excuse ever. He just starts reading one interesting book and accidentally loses an entire day to the pages. We have definitely all been there, bro. Wallace asks if he is a fellow reader, and Laruku mentions he has been binging books on elf history lately. The prince is absolutely shook and immediately offers to share his private stash, turning his quiet energy into pure hype. Our boy is down for the trade even if he just accidentally signed up for a massive reading session. Wallace is hooked on his new reading material, and the two boys are officially besties now. Laruku gets a permanent invite to the library before heading out on a glowing magic circle. Ars hands over a heavy bag of coins as a reward for the tutoring. He is genuinely happy because Princess Leia is actually starting to pass her classes. Our boy almost has a heart attack when he sees 5 gold coins in his hand. He is one step closer to his dream bathroom, but the king suddenly drops a heavy warning for him to stay alert. Laruku is confused why he needs to watch his back when everyone has been so nice. The king reminds him that having the backing of the capital hero and top-tier mages makes him a very big deal. Ars gets serious and explains that Laruku's political value is sky-high. Apparently, some nobles are even planning to kidnap him just to force an adoption. The king has been secretly squashing those plans and even hired a spy to watch over him. We see a little montage of the Shadow Guard following our boy everywhere from the inn to the market. Laruku just smiles and says he already noticed the person in black clothes following him. Ars completely loses his cool, shocked that a kid caught a professional royal spy. The king is blown away when he hears Laruku learned presence detection after only one lesson with Goldo. Our boy just shrugs it off, happy to finally get some rare praise. Ars gives one last warning to watch his back before disappearing into a shimmering warp. Laruku waves him off as the teleport magic kicks in. Back in the safety of his in-room, the boy decides it is time for a status check. He is curious if that new skill actually registered on his menu. The system window confirms the gains with a stack of new skills. Between wordless incantation and presence detection, our boy is officially leveling up fast. A quiet moment for prayer as he reflects on everyone he has met since his reincarnation. He is genuinely grateful for the found family he has built in this new world. Looking out at the quiet city, thoughts drift back to the rough start after being targeted by a wicked god. This place was a lucky break since everyone is so kind. Routine prayers finished. He dives under the covers and drifts off. One final hope that his thanks reach the goddess before he falls asleep. Our boy opens his eyes and realizes he is definitely not at the inn anymore. Waking up in a palace bed is a major vibe shift. He sits up in shock when he sees Goldo snoozing right next to him. This family bonding is moving way faster than he expected. The memories of yesterday start flooding back. He remembers King Ars getting all those adoption papers sorted in record time. He confirms that everything is officially signed and they are now a real family. Being an abandoned child made the legal process surprisingly easy. Our MC is out here struggling to call Goldo his father while the big guy tells him to just take it easy. This whole dad thing is going to take some practice. King Ars watches them with a satisfied smile. Seeing his plan come together has him feeling better than ever. He claps his hands and suggests they should both just move into the castle for a while. Goldo is confused why he is included in the invite, but the king has already made up his mind. King R suggests Laruku should just move in to avoid the long commute from the inn. He really wants him around to keep the other royal kids company. Goldo agrees to the move as long as the kid is happy. Our boy is mostly just hyped about having a fancy royal bath whenever he wants. The big man tries to mention his actual job, but he is immediately cut off. Prince Riolis is already losing his mind with excitement over his new live-in trainer. King Ars points out that he was a pretty bad receptionist since he scared away all the customers anyway. He tells him to just chill out and enjoy some time off. While the adults bicker, our boy sits up in bed and gets ready to check his stats. He triggers his appraisal magic to see how much has changed. The screen officially lists him as the son of Goldo Voltoris. Seeing that bond in black and white makes him feel truly at home. 1 year passes in a flash and life at the palace has become his new normal. Laruku is busy with his duties when Princess Leia suddenly ambushes him with a birthday surprise. Our boy is stunned to find out today is actually his birthday. He has never celebrated one before, and the realization hits different. King Ars explains he checked his birth certificate to make sure the date was legit. He is not letting him skip out on the festivities. The surprises keep coming as they reveal it is Goldo's birthday too. The big man looks completely caught off guard by the shared spotlight. It feels like fate is bringing this new family even closer. Even Goldo is starting to feel a bit sentimental as Laruku calls him dad. Goldo gets a bit overwhelmed by the attention, but they eventually head off to a massive royal feast. The whole squad is there to enjoy some top-tier snacks. Nothing beats a long soak after a day full of bombshells. Our boy is practically melting into the water and living his best life. The vibes are instantly ruined when King Ars suddenly appears in the tub. Goldo is not happy about the king using stealth magic just to crash their bath time. Goldo asks if the king is finished with his duties. Ars admits he has been clearing his plate thanks to help from Laruku, even though he is already planning to dump the throne onto his son. Ars gives Laruku a friendly head pat for all the hard work. Our boy stays humble, insisting he is just handling simple math and sorting while getting paid a fortune for it. Curious about his new life, Laruku asks Goldo if their house actually has a bath. Goldo confirms there is one, even if it is not a royal tub, leaving the boy floored by the news. Our boy realizes he has been wasting his time saving up for a house with a bath. He has been pinching pennies on fruit and hoarding bronze coins like a goblin, much to the confusion of the king. Ars changes the subject and asks if Laruku is interested in joining the academy. The name Lactoria Academy immediately catches the attention of our boy. The Lactoria Academy is a massive school that opens its gates to everyone. It does not matter if you're a commoner or royalty like the princess, as everyone gets a chance to study there. It sounds like a dream school for adventurers who want to master magic and swords while they work. Ars drops the bomb that he wants Laruku to enroll next year, leaving the boy blindsided by the news. The king's proposal is straightforward. Leia is moving up to the elite class and is terrified of falling behind, so she wants her tutor to join her for support. Our boy confirms the plan with Ars, who is thrilled he caught on so fast. The idea of attending a school in another world has him hyped, and he happily agrees to enroll. Goldo explodes out of the water in a panic. The thought of his son getting bullied on the way to class is getting to him. Laruku tries to talk some sense into his new dad, telling him he is overreacting. Besides, he is looking forward to finally seeing what a fantasy academy is like. With a heavy sigh, Goldo realizes there is no stopping him and gives his blessing. Our boy is living for the news, celebrating while his dad starts cooking up a new plan. The worry is gone, replaced by a terrifying amount of motivation. Goldo vows to train Laruku so hard that no danger at school will ever stand a chance against him. Laruku turns to Ars for help, begging him to keep his dad from going off the deep end with the training. He just looks on awkwardly, admitting that stopping a fired-up Goldo might be an impossible mission. Entrance exam day is finally here, and everyone is converging on the massive gates of Lactoria Academy. Roselia is doing the absolute most to hype him up, while Laruku just keeps it cool with a confident smile. He can only hope that his performance matches the intensity of Goldo training, since his new dad was basically a drill sergeant in the gym. The hallways are packed with nervous energy as students file into the first examination hall. Once they are all seated, the proctor steps up to get the show on the road. Their instructor, Carl, introduces himself before using wind magic to distribute the test papers. It is a flex for sure, sending the papers flying onto every desk in the room. He flips the hourglass and gives the green light to start. Laruku locks in and gets ready to crush the written portion. Our boy is floored the second he reads the first question. This is the exact same stuff he studied with Leafia, so he is basically holding a cheat sheet in his head. Our boy grabs his passing slip from the proctor and gets the green light to move on. He is headed straight for the second hall for the next phase of the exam. Even with 15 minutes on the clock, he is already turning in his paper. The instructor is absolutely losing his mind over the speed, but Laruku just tells him to keep it down for the other kids. He makes it to the second hall and lets out a few, glad that first part was so light. A new examiner is waiting for him, and she is pretty shocked to see anyone finishing that fast. The next topic is magic, and the targets are already set up. He has got a tight 100-second window to hit every single one of them with whatever spells he chooses. There is a catch though, because this test is all about precision. If he wrecks the targets or uses a massive area attack, he is going to fail. The examiner gives him the thumbs up and tells him to go for it. He locks in behind the starting line, making sure not to step over as he gets ready to fire. The exam officially kicks off and the magic starts flying. He has got a lot of targets to cover, so he has to stay sharp and maintain a perfect flow of speed and accuracy. He is breezing through the precision test, comparing it to his sessions with King R's. Target after target goes down as he stays perfectly locked in. With the sand in the hourglass running out, he fires off one last hit. He nails the final target just as the proctor calls time. That level of focus is straight up exhausting. He takes a moment to wipe away the sweat and catch his breath after the performance. He grabs his passing slip and heads out, but the pressure is starting to show. He is clutching his stomach as he makes his way toward the next hall. He arrives at the third hall to find his next examiner completely out of it. This dude is straight up snoring in his chair while on the clock. Since the polite approach was not doing anything, he has to crank the volume up. One loud shout is all it takes to finally wake the guy up. The examiner just laughs it off, blaming his nap on the early morning start. He tells Laruku to head over to the weapon rack and pick out gear for the duel. The rules for the third exam are simple but strict. It is a straight-up weapons duel with dulled blades, and he is forbidden from using any magic that is not a direct stat boost. His opponent is a high-level instructor named Morris, who handles the academy's combat training. Our boy keeps it professional with a quick intro before the real work begins. The win condition is even simpler since a single clean hit earns him a passing grade. Morris wastes 0 time and tests his guard with a heavy opening strike. Laruku grits his teeth and barely manages to tank the impact. The instructor is surprised by his raw power, but the boy knows he is only standing because of his brutal daily training sessions. Morris just laughs and keeps the pressure high, enjoying the challenge. It is clear that playing the long game is a losing strategy, so he needs to find an opening fast. The examiner blurs out of sight and reappears directly behind him for a finishing blow. Forced into a corner, he taps into the secret strength amplification training he learned from the king. He funnels all that boosted energy into a single explosive turn. The swing looks perfect, and for a split second, it feels like he finally has the upper hand. Morris is not holding back and catches Laruku off guard with a lethal opening. He casually reminds the boy that stat boosts were never off the table for the examiner either. Laruku goes for a strike, but Morris dodges with a casual whistle. The power gap is heavy, and our boy ends up hitting the floor hard. The pressure is mounting as Laruku realizes the instructor is just playing around. He is barely keeping it together while gasping for air. Morris keeps the pressure high, telling the kid he is on track to fail if he does not step it up. Laruku can barely beg for a breather before the clock runs out. Time for a secret weapon. Laruku funnels all his magic into his legs for an explosive dash that actually catches the pro off guard. The gamble pays off and Morris admits he let his guard slip for a second. He keeps it professional though, telling Laruku to hand over his paper for that passing stamp. While signing the form, Morris does a double take at the family name. Laruku reveals his father is none other than Goldo Voltoris, which leaves the instructor in a daze. Morris loses his mind when he hears the name, grabbing our boy and shaking him like a maraca. Turns out the instructor and Goldo were old school teammates back in the day. He lets out a nostalgic smile while slamming down the official stamp. Hearing about his old friend after all these years was the best news he had all week. With the exams officially wrapped, they trade some polite waves and bows. Morris tells him he better bring that same energy when they meet again at the academy. One last stop at the front desk to confirm the final details. The receptionist lets him know the results will be up on the board in 2 days. Our MC barely makes it out the door before Goldo tackles him with questions about the test. When Laruku says he crushed it, the legendary hero screams so loud that the queen has to tell him to pipe down. The day after the big exams, things are finally settling down at the royal palace. King Ars spots our boy in the hallway and mentions that his timing is perfect. It turns out Prince Wallace has a message about that one specific item Laruku has been hunting for. The news hits home, instantly shifting the mood from casual to high alert. He doesn't even wait for a full explanation before zooming off toward the library. His speed is reaching new levels, leaving everyone in the hallway wondering if he is even human anymore. Over at the library, the door creaks open to reveal Prince Wallace waiting like a master strategist. The Scholar Prince welcomes him in, ready to hand over the long-awaited prize. Laruku is practically gasping for air when he asks if the treasure is finally here. Wallace keeps it professional and presents a book about the best ways to grow rice, noting it was a nightmare to track down. Just seeing the cover is enough to send our MC into a state of pure bliss. This is the moment he has been waiting for, and the joy is written all over his face. He is overwhelmed with gratitude and can't stop thanking the prince for the discovery. Wallace tells him to just return the manual to the library whenever he is done, but our boy is already miles away in his mind. Our boy is geeking out over his new book. It turns out the author was actually spreading the word on Rice and even left notes in Japanese, confirming there was another reincarnated person in this world before him. Just as he is getting into it, the door swings open. Goldo walks in fresh from the bath and is shocked to see the kid still up this late. Goldo tells him not to push it, but he is way too excited about the discovery to stop now. He is beyond glad he asked Wallace for the favor since the existence of Rice in this new world has him humming with joy. Finally, he shuts the manual for the night. He decides to save the rest of the reading for later as the palace goes quiet. Fast forward to their next training break. The duo is soaking in a massive bath to wash off the day's stress. Suddenly, the kid gets weirdly formal and asks his father for a favor. When Goldo asks why he is acting so stiff, Laruku just notes how much his height has increased and how he can finally wield a sword. He barely gets the request to go outside of town out of his mouth before he gets shut down. Goldo drops a heavy no and a physical whack before he can even finish his sentence. Goldo stays firm on his refusal, leaving Laruku to grumble about how fast the rejection came. Despite his father's lectures about the dangers of the world, Laruku points out that his training has already maxed out his combat stats. He can't believe how overprotective his dad is being, certain his current strength is more than enough for the area around the city. Our boy tries a different tactic, agreeing for a moment before dropping a big request. He wants permission to travel outside as a gift for getting into the academy. After a relentless pout attack, Goldo finally breaks under the pressure. He gives the green light and Laruku can't hide his excitement. Later on, Ryo joins them in the bath and notices that the kid is looking a lot more muscular. Laruku gives a little flex, crediting his father for the transformation. Ryo shows off his own shredded physique, reminding them he is still a veteran of the training grind. He even jokes about taking on Goldo again, making the big man nervous. Ryo drops the news that the king is looking for them, and the boys can only hope it is not for something stupid. The bath time bickering reaches a peak as Goldo calls out Ryo for being a lightweight with the water temperature. Goldo finally taps out of the boiling water, leaving Laruku to claim a very dizzy victory for the bath lovers everywhere. Our boy literally pushed himself too hard and passed out, muttering about his pride as a bathmeister while his dad panics. It is a total walk of shame as Goldo carries his half-conscious son to meet with a very confused King Ars. The king tells them to skip the results board and head straight to the academy because the headmaster requested a private meeting. The vibe immediately dies when the headmaster delivers the ultimate L, telling Laruku that he is officially rejected from the academy. The headmaster apologizes for being vague, but King Ars pushes for a real explanation as to why a kid with such high-level skill would be rejected. She clarifies that the academy has nothing left to teach him because his exam scores were actually too perfect for their curriculum. Our boy tries to claim he barely passed the magic exam, but she reminds him that hitting every single target was way beyond the actual passing grade. The true point of the test was to see how he performed magic under intense pressure, and he passed that challenge with ease. She suggests he would be better off as a guardian or an adventurer, especially since he managed to tag a former A-rank proctor during his duel. Laruku is still desperate to enroll, and he is surprised when his dad casually calls the headmaster by her first name, Neja, to help plead his case. Goldo asks if school is really just about the books, making her look out at the happy students and reconsider the value of a social life for the kid. Neja finally gives in, admitting that Goldo might be right about her being a bit too rigid with the rules. After a formal apology for the confusion, she officially accepts him into the academy while his eyes go full anime sparkle mode. Moving day is here, and the sheer amount of luggage they are lugging around is honestly impressive. Looking around at the empty space, he decides to just dump everything into his magical item box and call it a day. The duo officially starts their journey away from the castle as they prepare for the next chapter of their lives. After clearing it with the king, the plan is to live back home with his dad until the school semester officially kicks off. Princess Leah is clearly taking the goodbye pretty hard, but our boy promises they will be reunited at the academy in no time. Queen Ima tries to cheer up a crying Leah by suggesting she can visit the boys' new place later. Goldo just stands by, ready to finally hit the road. With a cheerful promise to stay in touch, they officially leave the palace behind. A heartfelt montage revisits all the memories they made with the royals over the last 2 years. Back in the real world, Goldo starts panicking about their basic survival needs. Leaving the castle means the end of free meals, and he is definitely not ready to be a full-time chef. Our boy drops a bombshell by revealing he has the preparation skill. He is more than happy to take over all the kitchen duties himself. This revelation catches Goldo completely off guard since the kid has been hiding this talent since day one. He is just relieved they won't be starving in their new home. It turns out this skill is a rare gift that provides instant recipes and a boost to food quality. Learning that Laruku is already at level 3 nearly sends his dad into total shock. They wrap up a quick lunch break on a local bench. Next on the agenda is a trip to the market for some actual groceries. Laruku points out how his dad is basically a local celebrity while they finish up their snacks. Goldo just chalks it up to being a longtime resident since moving from the countryside. The rural life sounds cozy, but it is time to wrap things up. Goldo suggests they finally head back to his place, and our boy is ready to see his new home. Arrival at the house is a total jump scare because this place is a mansion. Laruku is losing it because living in a castle alone is the definition of overkill. Goldo starts explaining that this used to be just a regular house back when he was a rookie adventurer. Everything changed after a legendary run-in with a dragon. He managed to take the beast down, but the fight left a mark on the town. He ended up stuck in a hospital bed for a long time while he recovered from his injuries. When he finally got discharged and returned home, he found his humble shack had been transformed into something unrecognizable. The local townsfolk did the renovation as a surprise thank you gift for saving them. It is a nice gesture, but it is way too much space for just one guy to live in. Goldo drops a wholesome head pat and admits he is really glad to have the kid around. Our boy gets straight to work in the kitchen, picking out simple recipes to avoid a first-day disaster. He weighs his options between roasting meat or making a classic vegetable soup. After a quick taste test to make sure the seasoning is on point, he proudly reveals the final result. The smell alone brings his dad running, and the kid is feeling pretty confident about his masterpiece. One bite is all it takes for the flavor to send his dad into another dimension. Goldo is so impressed that he puts the kid on permanent kitchen duty starting tonight. It is a win-win for everyone as they settle into their new life together. It has been a few days since the big move, and the domestic life is already hitting different. Goldo is living his best life thanks to the kid's high-level cooking skills. Laruku loves seeing his pops clear every plate with a happy smile. Goldo tries to step up for dish duty, but Laruku isn't about to let the old man lift a finger. He sends his dad off to soak in the bath instead. He is doing the heavy lifting today, but he is definitely cashing in a favor tomorrow. Having a master bedroom to yourself is a certified win. He takes a victory dive into the massive bed, but remembers he has one last thing to do. He reaches into his system box and pulls out a familiar-looking statue. Time for a little late-night gratitude session. He sets up a mini shrine in the cabinet to keep things low-key. He gives a quick prayer to the goddess Samedi for keeping him safe in this crazy new world. As he wraps up his prayer, the statue lets out a mysterious glow that catches him off guard. He chalks it up to exhaustion and decides to call it a night. He is out cold the moment his head hits the pillow. The next morning, he is greeted by some familiar faces right outside his front door. Doldos and his party are completely stunned to see the kid casually walking out of Goldo's mansion. They definitely weren't expecting him to be alive and resident. Laruku clears up the confusion by explaining they have been roommates for a few days now. Doldos is thrilled and starts slapping Goldo's back with enough force to cause actual damage. Everyone agrees that the old legend finally has some much-needed company. Doldos brags about his father being the lead architect for the mansion, admitting they could not resist going all out for a legend. Laruku admits the place is a massive flex compared to anything he had imagined. Goldo finally connects the dots on why his home is so unnecessarily huge, forcing a messy confession out of Doldos. A family secret is officially out in the open, and Goldo is the only one who was not in on it. Laruku starts questioning his father's limits with booze, which has Doldos immediately backtracking. While the kid worries, the old man is already mentally prepping for a high-stakes drinking duel. The conversation shifts to the legendary history of dwarves, sparking the inner scholar in Laruku. He has done his homework and knows all about their reputation for being absolute units. Doldos describes dwarves as legendary sponges that can drain an entire bar's inventory in a single sitting. Laruku listens in awe as the lore about their drinking habits gets even deeper. The ultimate flex is revealed when Doldos mentions that Goldo once outdrank a dwarf in a fair contest. Our MC is genuinely rattled by the realization that his dad is simply built different. A heavy vibe settles over the group as they notice a suspicious crowd of strangers filling the streets. Goldo senses a shift in the air, though Doldos confirms there have been no rumors about a new dungeon appearing nearby. Goldo is losing his mind after the realization about his drinking habits. He face plants in total shock as his brain short-circuits from the news. Lalatina finds the MC near the stairs and tells him his timing is perfect. Laruku is happy to see her, but she seems like she is in a hurry to get somewhere. She asks for a quick favor, and Laruku is more than happy to help out. They head off together as he wonders what kind of job she has lined up for him. The group stops at a dead end until Lalatina phases straight through the solid wall. Goldo realizes it is just a high-level magic illusion, while our boy is just stunned by the cool trick. Goldo admits he never knew the guild had secret passages hiding behind magic walls. Laruku just blinks in confusion as they step into a part of the building he never knew existed. Lalatina explains the room was built as a shortcut for the lazy guildmaster. The door swings open and reveals a massive pile of clutter that looks like a landslide of junk. Goldo starts frantically digging through the mess to make sure the kid did not get crushed. Laruku is seeing stars after the surprise avalanche, finally realizing he just got recruited for a massive cleaning job. Lalatina claps her hands together and begs for a major favor. She needs them to dive into the junk pile and rescue the guild master who went missing inside. Laruku is a total pushover and agrees immediately. While the vibe shifts as she starts explaining the actual situation, it turns out the guild master disappeared into the mess a few moments ago after claiming she could handle it alone. The rescue mission begins as the duo starts digging through the chaos. They find everything from moldy bread to precarious stacks of books that are one wrong move away from a total collapse. After some serious elbow grease, the crew finally manages to clear out 2 whole rooms. Everyone is completely drained and gasping for air. Lalatina is actually impressed. They survived the first round of the junk war. Despite all the hard work, the guildmaster is still missing in action. Lalatina turns toward the final door, with a look that says things are about to get serious. It is the only place left where their boss could be hiding. Lalatina decides to go full mage mode and summons a high-level barrier just for some spring cleaning. She tells the boys to stay inside the magic circle so they don't get crushed by a potential book avalanche. Goldo is just standing there thinking this is a bit overkill for a messy room. They step into the final room and find a mountain of junk that defies the laws of physics. Lalatina is speechless at the sheer volume of stuff packed into one space. Laruku just lets out a sigh of relief that nothing has fallen on them yet. The stacks of books are leaning at impossible angles and look like they would crumble if someone even sneezed. It is a miracle the whole place is still standing. Laruku spots something in the corner and realizes the cleaning job just got way more complicated. Leafia spots the crew and immediately puts them to work. She asks Laruku to help move some boxes, and he is more than happy to do his part. A sudden shout from the background sends the guildmaster into a full-body flinch. Lalatina has already arrived and is hard at work while her boss was just trying to slack off. Lalatina is not buying the fake surprise routine for 1 second. She stares down her boss with a cold look that says the excuses are officially over. Caught in the act, Lalatina drags her boss away after catching her reading on the job instead of cleaning. Goldo pulls our boy aside with a look of pure dread. He tells him that no matter what happens, he should never make an enemy out of the deputy master. He tells a story about a massive A-rank adventurer who was known for being a violent troublemaker. This dude had already ignored 3 warnings and was about to find out why that was a huge mistake. The brute slammed his fist down and demanded his pay after failing a mission. Lalatina didn't even flinch before she reached out and grabbed him. A massive thug is holding Fia hostage and demanding a payout for a job he clearly failed. She is terrified and just wants him to let go. The brute just smirks when Lalatina tells him to let go. He gives her a hard no and seals his fate. A huge mistake. Lalatina snaps his arm like a dry twig and slams him into the floor with terrifying force. She stays on top of him and keeps the pressure on with brutal punches. Total one-sided beatdown. Traumatized for life, the brute retired immediately. Lalatina caught a 6-month suspension, leaving our boy completely speechless. Explains why the guild is always so quiet. Everyone is just trying to dodge Lalatina and her murderous aura. With a sweet smile, Lalatina apologizes while Fia looks like a ghost. Lalatina is not finished with her boss yet, and drags the screaming Fia away for some mandatory overtime. Our boy can only offer a silent prayer while Goldo gets cornered by an incredibly loud and energetic Rio. Back at the mansion, cleaning is a total grind until a package arrives addressed specifically to our MC. Inside is his official academy uniform, and it is finally time to suit up for the real thing. Holding the new gear feels unreal after borrowing the prince clothes for so long. He has finally got his own textbooks, the uniform, and even a mysterious letter to top it all off. A sudden knock breaks the peaceful moment as Doldos barges into the room. He is not here for the old man this time, as he has got some serious business specifically with our boy. The big man reveals some massive gifts to celebrate the kid getting into the academy. One is from his crew, and the other is a heartfelt present from Imelda and the staff at the Small Bear Inn. Laruku is officially moving up in life as he reveals he has been chosen to give the entrance ceremony speech. Doldos is acting like a proud uncle and cannot help but pat his head in celebration. The gifts are high tier, containing a fresh set of stationery and custom children's robes for his new journey. Everyone in town is officially rooting for his success at the academy. Doldos explains the robe is a practical gift for the road ahead. Our boy accepts the gear with a promise to keep it in top shape. The support from the crew is the perfect send-off for his journey. Night settles over the mansion on the eve of the ceremony. Suitcase open on the floor, he double-checks his textbooks and uniform for the journey ahead. The long-awaited school days are finally here. It is finally time for the big day at Loctoria Academy. While the entrance ceremony kicks off, our boy Laruku is in the corner losing his mind. He is frantically mumbling through his speech script while Roselia peeks in from the door. The girls catch him looking like a total zombie. Roselia and her friend wave hello, but they are instantly worried about the massive bags under his eyes. Turns out he pulled an accidental all-nighter just to make sure his speech was perfect. The bubbly new girl introduces herself with zero hesitation. She is Sarah, and she is clearly hyped to finally meet the legendary Laruku. Our MC is just trying to keep it together while being greeted by a total ball of energy. Sarah jokes about how much Roselia has been yapping about him, making Roselia go full blush mode. They share a quick laugh before a staff member cuts the fun short. It is showtime, and the ceremony is officially starting. Laruku takes the stage and crushes it. After the speech, he makes his way down while the whole crowd, including his new fan club, gives him a round of applause. He bows out with a heavy sigh of relief, glad that the nerve-wracking part is over. As the students head out, the vibes are high. Sarah and Roselia catch up to him to let him know he looked absolutely cool up there. Our boy is just humble about it, giving them a quick thanks as they walk together. Sarah mentions a rumor she heard from her brother about Laruku getting permission to leave the capital. He confirms it, but says he needs to settle into school life first. The girls immediately start planning a road trip, looking way too excited for a future adventure. Laruku is a bit worried about the girls venturing outside the capital since monsters are no joke. He asks if it is really safe for them to be out there on their own. Roselia just smiles and starts flexing some high-level light magic. Turns out she is a level 4 magic user, which is a straight flex for someone her age. Not to be outdone, Sarah shows off her level 4 water magic by accidentally splashing Laruku. Our boy is definitely not feeling the cold surprise. The girls explain that they both have divine protections from the gods of light and water. Laruku is shook to find out these two are basically walking cheat codes. It finally clicks for him that he isn't the only one with a godly buff in this world. The vibes shift as everyone settles into their new classroom. The door swings open as Carl and Morris make their grand entrance. Carl introduces himself as the homeroom teacher, while Morris pops in as the high-energy assistant. Class is officially in session, and it is time for the dreaded self-introductions. Carl points to the front row, and the first demi-human student is already shaking in his boots. First up is Leon, a nervous cat-eared demi-human just trying to be friendly. Then we have Kagura, who traveled from a distant land and hopes everyone can get along. The introductions keep rolling with Melria, a specialist in holy element magic, and Dolan, a cool-headed dragonute who prefers swords over spells. Our boy is low-key impressed, remembering from his books that dragonutes are the rare descendants of dragons and humans. It is his first time actually seeing one in the flesh. Next up is Roke Dursley, who makes sure everyone knows he is the son of a major company chairman. As Roke sits down, Laruku recognizes the name, noting that his family runs one of the biggest businesses in the capital. He is starting to realize just how diverse this class really is. After Laruku wraps up his own intro, the teacher thanks the group and announces it is time for a tour of the school facilities. The class heads out to explore the halls, but Laruku can feel a heavy gaze on his back. He eventually turns to Morris and asks if there's something on his mind, since the man has been staring quite a bit. Morris pulls Laruku aside for a sudden chat, but he immediately gets cold feet and tries to wave it off. After a bit of awkward hesitation, he finally works up the nerve to whisper and ask how Goldo is really doing. Laruku is all smiles and offers to set up a meeting, which sends Morris into another wave of panic. The instructor is clearly not ready for a reunion and insists there's no need for anything that extreme. Morris opens up about the guilt he has been carrying since the dragon attack years ago. He feels like a coward for not being there to back up his friend during that legendary battle. Laruku reassures the man that his father isn't the type to hold a grudge. Morris is left in total shock when he hears that Goldo is even getting along well with Doldos and the other adventurers. Deciding he has shared enough, Morris goes for a heavy-duty head pat that catches Laruku completely off guard. Our boy can only think about how forceful the man's instructor energy really is. The scene shifts to the third day of classes where the atmosphere is light. Carl tells the students they will be doing an icebreaker by presenting their favorite spells or skills to the group. Sarah is already leaning in, dying to know what kind of amazing magic Laruku is going to show off. He stays humble, noting that his storage skill and combination spells are usually his go-to moves. Sarah is completely blown away by the fact that Laruku can use combination spells, but he just plays it cool and says it is easy once you practice. He gets to work manifesting a magic circle, ready to show off exactly how he blends his elements. He merges fire and water until they roar, then uses wind magic to keep the whole thing levitating in a perfect sphere. Sarah can only watch in shock as the glowing orb bobs around like a bouncy ball before Laruku offers to let her touch it. The sphere turns out to be perfectly warm to the touch, and Sarah is genuinely impressed by how incredible it feels. Laruku stays humble as usual, insisting anyone can do this with enough study, even though the others know most people quit way before reaching this level. The classroom vibes are at an all-time high, and the conversation naturally shifts to storage skills. Dolan joins in, noting that while he does not have fancy combination magic, he does have a storage skill of his own. Dolan explains his interdimensional storage box, though he admits it is basically just a glorified backpack. It has a strict size limit and requires him to be physically touching whatever he wants to pack away. The girls start comparing stats, realizing Laruku's version of the skill has to be way more overpowered than a standard box. Our boy just tries to downplay it, acting like his storage method is nothing special compared to the rest. He reveals his useful box, which automatically sorts items by type and stacks them up in a clean interface. Carl watches from the sidelines with a smile, satisfied that his little icebreaker was a total success. Roke checks if Laruku has plans for the afternoon. Our boy mentions he is hunting for something specific in the merchant district. Since his house is nearby, Roke offers to guide him through the stalls. Laruku is ready to follow his lead. As they walk, the townspeople greet the young master with respect. Even Laruku's connection to Guldo gets a shout-out, reminding him of his father's massive reputation. They browse the market and see some fresh stock, but the search is not going well. Roke manages to pick up some goods for himself while Laruku comes up empty. Rook is curious about the mystery ingredient, but he has never even heard of rice. Laruku explains it is a staple food, though it seems totally unknown in this region. Rook decides to take him to a specialized shop that deals in rare items. They enter the store and are greeted by a veteran employee named Mr. Taldora. Rick introduces his new friend while mentioning his father's name to set the tone. The old man tips his hat, welcoming the young master and his guest. Rick knows the shop is the place for rare finds. Taldora asks what they are looking for, and Laruku finally asks for some rice. Taldora is impressed that a kid knows about rice. Laruku makes up a quick lie about reading it in a book while secretly reminiscing about his past life. Turns out the store has a massive amount of rice sitting in the back. Nobody ever buys it, so the shopkeeper has just been stuck with the stock. Our boy cannot believe his ears. He keeps asking the same question just to make sure this is actually real life. Taldora pulls out a heavy crate and reveals the goods. Roke thinks they just look like tiny seeds, but Laruku knows he just hit the jackpot. Our boy is practically glowing with happiness right now. Even Roke notices that he wears his emotions on his sleeve. He is ready to buy everything and asks for the total weight. Taldora mentions he tried to make rice popular before but failed, so he is just happy to see some interest. The shopkeeper drops a bombshell, revealing he has 5 crates weighing 50 kilograms each. Our boy is stunned, realizing he just found enough rice to last a lifetime. He does not hesitate for a second, shouting that he is buying every single grain. The old man is shocked by the massive purchase, but he was more than happy to clear out his dusty stock. Laruku even makes him promise to keep the rice coming in the future. Back at the mansion, the chef is in his element, singing a happy little song while the rice boils. The room fills with a heavenly scent as he lifts the lid, revealing a perfect batch of steaming hot grains. He knows exactly what to make next. A massive mound of fried rice hits the table just as Guldo walks through the door. He stops dead in his tracks, caught by the amazing smell. Laruku presents the dish with a smirk, calling it his new rare find. Guldo takes one bite and basically has a religious experience, calling our boy a total genius. He is already asking for seconds before he even swallows his first spoonful. Laruku just smiles, glad to see his hard work paying off. The day ends on a high note, with our MC drying his hair and getting ready for bed. He plans to say a quick prayer to Samedi and finally get some rest. Suddenly, everything goes sideways. A wave of dizziness hits him like a truck, and the room starts spinning out of control. He collapses onto the floor in a heap, leaving his peaceful night in total shambles. The world fades out and our boy wakes up in a very familiar white void. He realizes he probably should have spent more time praying instead of just eating fried rice. Sure enough, the chief goddess is right there waiting for him. She apologizes for the sudden summon and corrects herself to use his new name, Laruku. He immediately panics, thinking he died again. But she shuts that down fast. Welcome back to the heavenly realm. Apparently, Laruku accidentally maxed out his faith stat, which earned him a direct invite back to the divine office. Checking his stats, his faith is officially capped at level 5. He is completely blindsided by the fact that he has been a model believer without even trying. He finally puts the pieces together and remembers her promise about meeting again. Along with the level cap, he just unlocked a brand new title called Holy Man. Samedi breaks down the rules for visiting the gods like she is teaching a tutorial. You need a maxed out skill and the matching title to get past the velvet rope. He raises his hand for one last question. He points out 2 mystery names on his blessing list and wants to know exactly who has been watching over him. Samedi looks like she knows exactly who they are. A flash of light fills the room while someone watches from the darkness with a shocked reaction. Samedi makes a dramatic entrance, sliding in while holding onto her favorite believer. A musical cue hits as the scene shifts to reveal the new guests. 2 legendary figures make their grand debut as the ones behind the mystery titles on the stat screen. Gordra introduces himself as the god of weapons, while the beautiful Majilt claims her spot as the goddess of magic. Our boy is losing his mind because legit deities just spawned right in front of him. Samedi can only sigh, clearly exhausted by the over-the-top energy of her fellow gods. Magilt leans in to ask if her magic boost was helpful, admitting she has been a fan of his for a long time. She even throws some shade at the lower levels of the heavenly realm for letting him suffer. Laruku confirms the magic buff is a lifesaver, but things get weird when he tries to check the other title. The god of weapons is currently busy flexing and sweating through his nerves while looking the other way. Turns out the big guy is just incredibly shy and hates having his powers put on display for the public. He tells the kid to just be patient and wait for the right moment for the reveal. Gordra makes a quick exit, leaving Majilt to explain that the man is just socially awkward. She pulls the boy into a hug and promises that his reward is going to be worth the wait. The other gods leave as quickly as they arrived, and Samedi wastes no time getting back to business. She claps her hands together, ready to explain why she actually summoned him here. Samedi suddenly doubles over in pain as the sheer weight of her past mistakes hits her. She begins a tearful apology for her incompetence, reminding him of how hard his life was 2 years ago. Our boy gets a quick refresher on his origin story, remembering the foggy memories and the rags he wore in that alleyway. It turns out his low luck and missing memories were all thanks to divine meddling. Deciding to make up for her massive fumble, the goddess promises a proper reward. She gathers a brilliant orb of light between her hands, preparing to hand over a game-changing gift. At her request, Laruku checks his status and finds a massive update waiting for him. He just secured a brand new god skill called Miraculous Light. This new ability is an absolute game-changer that can heal any injury or illness on the spot. As long as the target is still alive, this light can fix whatever is wrong with them. Samedi reveals she literally carved off a piece of her own power to give him this cheat. Laruku is stunned, realizing he just became the most broken healer in the world. Samedi drops the fine print, warning him that this broken skill has a 3-day cooldown. She has been keeping an eye on him for the last 2 years and trusts him with this power, even if he thinks she is being a bit too optimistic. He thanks her for the support but gets serious, asking if this light can handle old injuries that happened a long time ago. The goddess confirms it can even bring back a missing limb, and the look on his face says everything he has been hoping for is finally possible. He worries about how to explain the sudden healing, so she suggests playing the religion card since miracles are rare, but not unheard of in this world. Our boy realizes his father's wounds were too deep for normal healers as Samedi laughs off his concerns and points out that it is already morning. She reminds him that time is just a suggestion in the heavenly realm before fading away and wishing him luck. Laruku wakes up in bed, wondering if the meeting with the goddess was just a dream since he remembers falling asleep while praying. The peaceful morning is suddenly broken by a loud crash echoing from downstairs. He rushes to the kitchen to find the place a total disaster and Goldo sitting on the floor after a clumsy slip. Our boy peeks inside, wondering how a legendary adventurer managed to lose a fight against some basic cookware. Goldo plays it cool with a nervous good morning, explaining he was worried after Laruku passed out earlier. Our MC brushes it off, claiming he just got a bit too dedicated to his prayers and lost track of time. Looking at the leaning tower of dirty dishes, Goldo admits he just wanted to handle breakfast for once. It is the thought that counts even if the kitchen currently looks like a war zone. Realizing he is out of his depth, Goldo throws in the towel and apologizes for the chaos. Laruku just smiles and suggests they finish the meal as a team, getting straight to work with some precision chopping. While he works, his mind is racing about that new healing skill and the danger it brings. He knows it is a game breaker that could paint a target on his back for every noble and foreign power, if he isn't careful. He gets so deep into his thoughts that he nearly cuts himself, earning a sharp warning from Goldo. The big man pulls him back and reminds him that distraction is dangerous before offering to listen if something is bothering him. Laruku gets very serious and tells his dad they need to talk. Goldo is caught off guard by the sudden intensity. Goldo ponders the legends of divine power granted through prayer. Our boy is ready to use that very power to help his father. Goldo agrees to be the test subject and tells him to get everything ready. He is down to see what this new skill can actually do. Laruku directs him to the center of the room to start the process. Goldo takes his spot, waiting for whatever is coming next. A magic circle flares to life on the ceiling as Laruku begins the chant. He pushes his hands forward, ready to let the power rip. Blinding light centers right on Goldo as the healing begins. He is starting to panic, but Laruku tells him to stay perfectly still and trust the process. A heavy metal leg clatters onto the tiles as the dust settles. Goldo stands there in shock while Laruku finally lets out a sigh of relief. The man stares down at his fully restored limb, unable to process the miracle. Loudly announcing his return to health, he can hardly believe his luck while our MC enjoys the success of his work. Sprinting around the room like a kid on a sugar rush, he eventually stops with a flush of embarrassment. He admits he lost himself in the moment while Laruku tries to keep things grounded. A clench of the fist proves he is back in his prime. It is a total miracle, but the air gets heavy as they realize that keeping this level of power hidden is now a matter of survival. They decide this broken skill stays sealed until it is absolutely necessary. Goldo gets dead serious, warning Laruku that even the royal family should be kept in the dark about this. Later that night, the scene shifts to Laruku's bedroom. Tucked in and cozy, he catches up on some light reading about the joys of growing rice as the day finally winds down. The author's success in popularizing rice in the East is impressive. It is a peaceful moment of curiosity as he wonders if that is where his local shop gets their supply. Just as he is dreaming of travel, a series of loud clangs echo through the house. So much for a quiet night. Candle in hand, he heads out to find the source of the noise. Following the noise, Laruku opens the door to find Goldo still awake and working at his desk. Goldo apologizes for the late-night disturbance, but he is clearly deep in a project. Goldo realizes that his newly restored leg will raise too many questions at the guild. He decides to modify his old prosthetic into a hollow shell so he can hide the miracle in plain sight. Laruku offers to lend a hand with the repairs, but he gets a friendly head pat instead. Goldo tells him to get some sleep while he handles the technical work. With his energy levels through the roof, Goldo admits he is way too hyped to even think about resting. He is determined to get his gear sorted out tonight. Laruku gives a final warning for Goldo not to overdo it before heading back to his room. The scene shifts to the exterior of the quiet mansion as the day finally ends. The next morning, a loud crash interrupts breakfast as Doldos bursts through the door. He looks completely frantic and demands to see Laruku immediately. Doldos shouts that the Small Bear Inn is in major trouble, and they need help right now. Before he can even explain the situation, he grabs the kid and starts dragging him toward the door. Doldos bursts in with an early morning apology, looking totally stressed. Laruku and Goldo can tell by his face that this is a real emergency. The truth is out and it is not good. The food storage is ruined, and Doldos needs the boys to follow him to the scene of the crime. It is a disaster zone inside. Rats have completely wrecked the supplies, and the staff is struggling to keep up with the infestation. Little Anna is absolutely paralyzed by the rodents. She is hiding in bed, claiming she is tougher than her mom despite being totally shook. Doldos takes a breather outside to ask for a serious favor. He needs our boy to help fix this logistics nightmare. The inn is down to 0 supplies, and the staff is too busy to go shopping. Usually this would mean a long carriage trip, but they are short on hands. Laruku is not about to let them struggle. He offers to handle the shopping solo, since his storage skill is basically a walking warehouse. Goldo is already in full dad mode, looking visibly annoyed while Dats basically tried to crush our boy with a huge hug of appreciation. Laruku could only smile through the squeeze, thinking he was perfectly fine heading out on his own. The lecture started immediately, with Goldo snapping about how dangerous the world is and how one bodyguard just isn't enough. He insisted on tagging along for the shopping trip, proving that his overprotective levels are clearly off the charts. As they hit the streets, Laruku asked if he could explore some other shops after they finished the boring chores. Goldo kept yelling about safety protocols from the back, while everyone else just laughed at his typical parent energy. The market was full of life, and it didn't take long for our MC to get distracted by a cool-looking weapons store. Meanwhile, Goldo realized he lost sight of his kid for 2 seconds and panicked, screaming his name in the middle of the crowd. Laruku came running back with a huge smile, asking if the shopping was actually done. Goldo tried to play it cool while wiping away the sweat of a near heart attack, acting like he wasn't just seconds away from a mental breakdown. Even though he really wanted to see more of the city, Laruku knew it was time to head home. They started the walk back as the sun began to set, with a bird's-eye view showing just how far they still had to go. Back at the inn, the team announced their return with a mountain of fresh supplies in tow. Doldos and the crew were hyped to see them, especially since Laruku's storage skill did all the heavy lifting. The chef asked if the rat purge was finally over, and Doldos confirmed they had just finished clearing out the ruined food. He was hyped for the results, promising Dats and the crew a legendary meal as a thank you for all the hard work. Doldos pointed out that the storeroom floor was officially toast and needed a permanent fix after his temporary patch. The party couldn't stop laughing at the mental image of their leader getting stuck in the floor like a total amateur. While our boy sat quietly, The crew invited everyone to dig in and start the feast. Suddenly, a massive splash outside caught Laruku's attention, and he looked through the window to see what was going on. The group joked about how much dust they had collected during the cleaning and wondered if the water would even help. Laruku reached out to touch the splash and was shocked by how ice-cold the water felt. Our MC called out to Mr. Datz, asking if they could have a quick chat about a new plan. The entire room went silent as the crew waited to see what the resident genius was cooking up this time. Moving outside, Laruku placed his hands on the grass to prepare his next big move. He focused his mana and activated earth magic, causing the ground to rumble and rise at his command. He carefully stacked the materials, making sure the structure was rock solid and clean on the inside. With a confident smirk, our boy activated his useful box skill to finish the construction project in record time. Our boy pulls up with a massive orb of hot water ready to drop it into the newly dug basin. It looks like he is about to set off a serious water bomb. With a satisfying splash, the basin fills up and steam starts rising into the air. Laruku proudly presents his creation, inviting the whole crew to hop into their brand new outdoor bath. The adventurers are absolutely stunned that the kid actually pulled this off. Goldo watches with a proud grin as the guys start rushing toward the water to wash off the day. Our MC has officially reached peak legendary status at the inn. Goldo beams with pride while the others dive in, calling the boy his absolute pride and joy. Switching gears, Laruku heads back inside to give Mrs. Imelda the good news. He confirms that the rat infestation is officially history, leaving her completely speechless. Anna immediately corners him for another study session while Imelda tries to apologize for her earlier panic. He just laughs it off, reminding her that everyone has something they are afraid of. The sun rises on a brand new day. Back at the academy, it looks like school life is finally becoming the new normal for our hero. Our boy is officially vibing with school life and racking up those top student privileges. He is basically living his best life while juggling a stack of books that is nearly as big as he is. The library is his new favorite spot since top students can borrow books for home. He runs into Prince Wallace, who greets him with a smile. "Did you come to borrow some books?" he asks, and Laruku confirms he already finished the last stack. Wallace says goodbye as he heads for his next class. Our boy stays behind to scout for some more reading material, realizing he needs to hurry if he wants to make it back to his own lesson on time. Being a genius means classes are actually optional for him. But there is a major catch. If his grades ever slip, the academy will snatch those privileges away in a heartbeat. Even though he could technically ditch, he actually enjoys the lessons and decides to stay. He watches the clock tower, deciding that class is fun enough to keep going. Later that day, Goldo is waiting outside the school after his morning shift. "Do you have any plans later?" he asks. And since the schedule is wide open, our boy is ready for anything. Goldo stays mysterious and tells him to follow along. "I won't tell you until we arrive," he says with a smirk as they head off into the city together. Goldo leads the way into a local workshop where a guy named Forno greets them. "What business have you got today?" the smith asks, welcoming the rare customer to his shop. "This is my son, Laruku," Goldo says, introducing the MC as he bows politely. Forno jokes that he thought the kid was a kidnapping victim because he is way too tiny to be a blood relative, clarifying that they aren't related by blood. Goldo promises to share the whole story another time. He asks Forno to take some measurements and the smith is happy to help. Measuring tape in hand, Forno catches Laruku completely off guard with the sudden exam. He teases Goldo for keeping the poor kid in the dark about the whole surprise. The secret is finally out when Goldo mentions getting him some custom weapons and armor. "I'll go," our boy shouts, starry-eyed and ready for his first real set of gear. Forno finishes logging the numbers while Goldo tries to defend his sudden fatherly instincts. "I want to be the one to surprise you sometimes," he says, as Laruku beams with pure excitement. The custom job will take about 3 days, and while Forno offers a friend discount, Goldo refuses. He insists on paying full price for the very first gift he is giving to his son. Forno tries to give him a massive discount, but Goldo slams the table in a rage. He refuses to let his friend lose money on the deal, insisting on paying the proper price. A massive stack of coins hits the counter to end the argument. Forno grumbles about his wasted breath while our boy decides that both these guys are just weird. Forno jokes about how hard it must be having such a stubborn father, but Laruku just beams with a smile. He says he is always thankful to him, causing the old warrior to turn red with embarrassment. Outside the workshop, Goldo yells at everyone to hurry up and go home. Forno stays behind, laughing at the rare sight of the legendary fighter losing his cool. 3 days fly by in a blur of school and training. Between magic practice and hanging out at the guild, the wait for the new gear is almost over. On the 4th day, our boy sprints into the workshop to see if his gear is ready. Forno presents a stunning new cloak and armor set that leaves him speechless. Forno explains that he used a special blessing from the god of weapons to craft the set. These pieces are not just for show, as they will boost his stats the moment he puts them on. Our boy admires the new drip, noticing how light and shiny it feels. The gear comes with built-in buffs for durability and sword sharpness. Forno explains he tailored every piece to match his specific combat style. The stat boosts keep coming with enhanced recovery and elemental resistance. Forno casually mentions he used dragon scales for the build, sending Guldo into a total meltdown. These premium materials are basically unheard of for a starter set. Even the boots are enchanted to quiet every footstep. Guldo whispers to the smith, stressing that this gear is way too high-end for a beginner. Forno just shrugs it off, insisting he wanted to do something special to congratulate him. The two men get into a heated argument about the bill. Guldo demands to pay way more for the rare materials while Forno refuses to take another coin. Bro watches the chaos and decides that both of them are just plain weird. Laruku tries to get their attention while they scuffle over the payment. After checking his new look in the mirror, he turns back with a bright smile to say thank you. Guldo beams with pride, fully agreeing that he definitely has the best kid. Back in a quiet moment, he stares out the window while sitting next to a suit of armor. He wonders what life is really like once he finally steps outside the city walls. Laruku flopped onto his bed, dreaming of the adventures he would finally go on with Guldo, but his excitement was short-lived. Holding a tea set, he shrieked in shock when he realized he was not stepping outside anytime soon. Guldo was not taking any chances, insisting it was too dangerous to leave until his son was fully adjusted to that high-end gear. Laruku tried to play it cool, but he eventually caved when Guldo scheduled a series of mock battles in the training room instead. Several days passed as the training began in earnest. Sweat and magic residue splattered onto the training room's wooden floor as the duo went at it day after day. Laruku moved with incredible speed, launching himself into a dash that left his silhouette trailing behind. Guldo barely flinched, shifting his stance to block the incoming strike with veteran precision. Deciding to turn up the heat, Laruku activated his wordless incantation skill to fire off a powerful spell. The resulting explosion rocked the entire room with a loud boom that left the area filled with thick smoke. Guldo emerged from the haze hacking and coughing, yelling at his kid to finally learn some restraint. Laruku offered a sheepish apology, admitting he only went that hard because he knew his dad could handle it. Looking over his gear, Laruku felt like the dragon armor had become a natural extension of his own body. Seeing the progress, Guldo finally gave the green light, promising they would head out for a real adventure this weekend once school was over. That grin says it all. Leon catches the vibe immediately and knows something major is on the horizon for our boy. Keeping secrets isn't exactly his strong suit. Leon is floored that an actual adventurer has spent his whole life stuck behind the capital's safety. Seeing the look on his friend's face, Laruku quickly tries to play it cool. It doesn't work though, and Leon starts a tearful apology marathon for the accidental shade. The school gossip mill is running hot on Guldo's parenting style. It's a total shock to find out a legendary hero doubles as a world-class helicopter dad. The wait is officially over. Laruku slams the door on his old routine as he heads out for his first real taste of the world outside. A simple bathroom trip turns into a full-on ambush by a kid who's already cooked a feast. Laruku is fully geared and ready to roll before the sun is even up. No pajamas allowed when adventure is on the line. Laruku is physically shoving his dad into gear to make sure they don't waste a single second of the weekend. Our boy Laruku is moving at light speed, having already cleaned everything and packed the lunches while his dad is still buffering. Seeing that pure excitement, Guldo realizes there's no talking him out of an early start. Our MC is locked in and ready to roll. The duo finally hits the city gates where the guards recognize the legendary hero. Laruku gives a quick bow before zooming past the entrance. Outside the walls, the view is a complete flex with a massive peak towering over the landscape. Guldo keeps it casual, noting the area is usually safe as they soak in the scenery. That giant rock in the distance is known as Silver Dragon Mountain. It was named after a legendary beast that supposedly lived at the summit long ago. Guldo explains that while some think the dragon is still up there, nobody has proven it yet. He tells Laruku that he might even get to visit the peak himself one day. Suddenly, the veteran instincts kick in. Guldo flinches and signals for total silence, sensing that something is lurking in the trees ahead. Our boy is finally facing his first real monster since landing in this world, and he is already reaching for his blade. Meet the opponent, a massive jiggly slime just chilling in the grass. Guldo breaks down the lore, explaining that these bouncy blobs usually stick to wetlands and are not naturally aggressive. Even if they look harmless, they can wreck the water supply or join monster raids if things get out of hand. Guldo decides it is time for a trial by fire, telling Laruku he is up next for the solo fight. Choosing magic over his sword to play it safe, Laruku lines up a point-blank shot while the slime is still yawning. The magic hits home, turning the monster into a sizzling puddle of material that our MC needs to scoop up fast. Laruku shows off the liquid remains of his first victory, proving he did not just make it up. Goldo is definitely feeling like a proud dad, giving our boy a well-earned head pat for his hard work. The duo takes a lunch break to enjoy some sandwiches, but the excitement dies down pretty fast. Despite their high hopes, not a single other monster shows up for the rest of the trip. Back at the gate, Laruku is visibly pouting because the adventure was way shorter than he wanted. Even the local guard tries to cheer him up, explaining that coming home empty-handed is just part of the grind. Once he is back home and checking his gear, Laruku wonders if that one slime was enough to hit a level up. He starts prepping his school uniform as the sun sets over the academy. A quick check of his status window confirms the bad news, as one tiny slime was not nearly enough to move the needle. He settles into his room for the night while the city quietens down around him. Up in the divine realm, the gods are losing it because Laruku actually managed to kill something. Samedi is having a full breakdown over the mess this creates, while her assistant tries to keep her focused. Things are looking rough in the divine realm as an empty energy drink can rolls across the floor. Our blonde goddess Samadila is totally spent after the recent chaos, and her assistant can only nod as the boss finally hits the deck. It is finally over. She groans before passing out with a heavy thump. Back in the mortal world, Laruku finally opens his eyes feeling strangely refreshed. His heart drops when he sees Goldo sitting right by his bed looking like a total wreck with massive dark circles under his eyes. Flashback to the struggle as a hand desperately shakes his shoulder, a voice begging him to just wake up. Goldo clearly spent every second of the last few days in a state of absolute terror. In the present, Goldo lets out a sharp gasp as he realizes the kid is actually conscious. Before Laruku can even say hello, he is pulled into a massive, desperate hug while Goldo tries to keep it together. The big guy is completely overwhelmed with relief, holding onto the boy like a lifeline. "You're awake. I'm so glad," he whispers, leaving Laruku totally stunned by the sudden emotional outburst. The mood shifts fast when Goldo grabs his shoulders, eyes wide with residual panic. Turns out, our boy was not just taking a nap, he has been out cold for 3 entire days. Goldo admits he even called a doctor, but the guy could not find a single thing wrong with him. Still processing the time skip, Laruku decides it is time to check his status window and see what kind of mess that slime actually made. Our boy checks his stats and realizes he did not just level up, he hit the jackpot. Goldo is straight up glitching seeing that level 38 status screen staring back at him. Goldo immediately checks the kid for injuries, but Laruku is more confused about the monster. He starts to wonder if that regular slime was actually a boss in disguise. "I'm level 38 now," Laruku says, completely casual about the insane jump. The number hits Goldo like a physical truck, sending him reeling back in absolute disbelief. After catching his breath and nursing a bruised hip, Goldo asks to see the loot. He stares at the jar of slime remains with the intensity of a man solving a mystery. The diagnosis is in, and it is not good. Goldo reveals that Laruku did not just kill a slime, he took down a rare battle junkie variant. He explains that the dark blue core is the giveaway for a stronger monster. Laruku just blinks, realizing he does not even know what a normal one looks like yet. Turns out this thing was a high-ranking nightmare that would have given pros a hard time. No wonder the experience gain was enough to break the level scale. Goldo is still trying to do the math on that level jump while our boy wonders if he should mention his secret 10 times experience buff. He decides to keep it to himself for now to avoid any more awkward questions. Taking the slime jar for a professional checkup, Goldo offers to buy dinner on the way back. Laruku just smiles and tells him not to worry since he is already planning to hit the kitchen himself. After a quick head pat and a reminder to rest up, Goldo heads out and leaves the kid to recover in peace. Our MC waves him off, finally getting a moment of quiet to process the chaotic day. Chilling back at the inn, Laruku realizes he missed his chance to come clean and decides to pray for some divine help instead. He hopes that contacting Samedi might clear up the mystery behind his insane level jump. The prayer works a little too well, suddenly pulling him into a white void where a massive apology is already waiting. He looks around in confusion as giant text starts filling up the empty space. Samedi is already on the floor in a full dojiza, giving our boy a serious case of deja vu from their very first meeting. She is clearly terrified of whatever mess this slime kill caused in the system. Laruku asks if she knows what went down with that slime, and the goddess admits she never expected him to bag such a rare battle junkie variant. She looks completely drained by the unexpected turn of events. Samedi drops some heavy lore, explaining that the insane experience gain actually put a heavy burden on his soul. Our boy is left trying to process what kind of toll this actually takes on a person. Apparently, leveling up that fast makes it impossible for the soul to keep up with the body. Since he jumped more than 30 levels in one go, the situation was turning critical. The gods had to throttle his level gains so they would manifest slowly over 3 days to prevent a collapse. This explains why he was stuck in such a deep sleep for so long. The apologies start flying from both sides as they try to make sense of the mess. Samedi casually mentions that if they had reacted a few seconds later, he would have been bedridden for a month. The divine damage control clearly took a heavy toll on the poor goddess. Even her assistant is resorting to extreme caffeine therapy just to keep her functioning. As an official apology for the mistake, she offers him a choice between 3 high-tier special skills. Our MC can tell she really pushed herself to pull these together for him. The options are top tier, ranging from breaking skill level limits to subjugating divine beasts and even accessing a sacred library of every book in the world. This is a huge jump for his potential power. Our boy is sweating over these cracked options since every single one of them is a game breaker. He double-checks the offer before finally pointing a finger to lock in his choice. Without a second of doubt, he calls out for divine familiar magic. A majestic wolf familiar appears in a glowing frame as the skill starts to manifest. Samedi is curious about why he skipped the god-tier library, but our MC has his reasons. He points out that massive magic costs are a waste right now, and he is not even sure he will hit the level cap anyway. The goddess is impressed by his logic and gets the transfer started immediately. A wave of light and sparkles fills the void as the new special skill is etched into his soul. The divine business is finally wrapped up. So Samedi sends him back with a reminder about the time difference. He gives a final thank you before his spirit snaps back to his body. Waking up back at the inn, he is startled to see that it is already pitch black outside. A sudden knock at the door breaks the silence before he can even process the jump. Goldo bursts into the room and immediately goes into damage control mode. Apparently the pressure was too high and he ended up selling that rare battle junkie material behind his back. Goldo explains that the battle junkie slime was actually a high-level monster, which is why his stats skyrocketed. Our boy takes it in stride and thanks him, mentioning that he was planning to sell the materials anyway. The big man even found a logic for the deep sleep, claiming it is a rare side effect of gaining too many levels at once. Seeing that his guardian is fully convinced, our MC decides it is best to keep the divine intervention a secret. With his energy restored, he leaps out of bed and heads straight for the window to admire the night sky. He jokes about a shooting star being a legendary dragon, while a system prompt warns him not to get too reckless with his level growth. Life as a trainee adventurer isn't easy, but Laruku is loving every second of it. On his days off, he hits the woods with Goldo to practice his combat skills and soak up some much-needed survival knowledge. Goldo notices that his boy is moving way smoother, a sure sign that his level is climbing. Laruku admits his physical stats are up, but trying to keep his massive magical power under control is becoming a real headache. Realizing he has never actually seen it, Laruku asks his guardian for a peek at his status. Goldo is a bit surprised by the sudden request, but starts digging through his gear to find his old appraisal papers. The big man pulls out a simplified list of his stats, explaining that writing out every single skill was too much of a pain. Even without the details, the raw numbers are enough to show that this guy is a beast. After handing back the paper, Laruku takes a look at his own appraisal card and starts sweating. Even at level 12, his stats are unnervingly high, making him wonder if he has actually broken the system. Laruku is blown away by the fact that Goldo is over level 150. As it turns out, the experience required for higher levels is insane, making anyone at that rank a legend in the adventurer world. Goldo drops a bombshell casually mentioning that there are people in the country who have even surpassed level 200. Laruku is shocked by the number, especially when he finds out he has already met one of these monsters. The fact that the king is level 200 is straight up illegal. Our boy Laruku is officially shook by the power gap. Ours apparently leaked his own stats as a prank, but now his mere existence keeps the entire kingdom's crime rate at 0. While they keep moving, Laruku starts wondering if every single member of the royal family is a hidden final boss. Suddenly, a voice calls out to him from the dark. Before he can react, he's snatched away with a chilling message that he's finally been found. Laruku wakes up in a void of total darkness and has to rely on his fire magic to get some light. The flicker reveals a sight he definitely wasn't ready for. A massive dragon is literally breathing down his neck. He's way out of his league here and the panic is real. The beast actually speaks up, comparing his very human panic to someone else it once met. Laruku can only scream as he realizes he's face to face with a legend. Laruku is looking everywhere but the right spot, forcing the ancient beast to point out the obvious. He is standing right there, bro. Standing tall as a relic from the dawn of time, the dragon introduces himself as Shafarl. Most people just know him as the Silver Dragon, a title that has clearly stuck throughout history. While our boy is busy having a fanboy moment over meeting a legend, the beast leans in to ask for his name. He manages to stammer out his name just as the atmosphere turns heavy enough to crush him. Seeing the kid struggle, the dragon offers a quick apology for cranking his intimidation skill too high just for the aesthetic. With the pressure finally gone, Laruku can actually breathe again and wonder how he even ended up here. Our boy finally puts the pieces together. That mysterious cloaked man from before was Shafarl using a doppelganger to transfer him here. The dragon admits he actually had someone else in mind for this job. Apparently, they were too busy with their own drama to help a legend out. Laruku realizes he is basically being recruited for a mystery quest. Shafarl is just happy the kid catches on quick. Turns out the dragon has been searching for him for months. He has been waiting for the perfect moment to make his move. This creepy void is actually the dragon personal respawn point. He has been reincarnating right here since the world first started. Reincarnation sounds cool until you realize you start back at level 1. Tiny dragons are basically helpless snacks until they can gather enough energy to grow. Laruku asks if the legend needs a babysitter after he respawns. Shafarl throws a fit because his pride hates admitting he needs help from anyone. Even a legendary dragon has to admit that starting from zero is a total nightmare. Baby dragons are basically easy snacks for monsters unless they have some serious backup. Shafarl explains that he made a deal with a specific clan decades ago to solve this problem. In exchange for protection, the clan would let him borrow magic from their kids to fuel his growth. It was a fair trade between equals that let him gather the energy he needed. This agreement was the only way he could survive the dangerous early years of his cycle. The dragon drops a major reveal that changes everything. Since Laruku has silver hair, he is actually a direct descendant of that ancient clan. Laruku is reeling from the news while Shafarl just continues to vibe. The dragon mentions that our boy is way easier to deal with than the previous person he tried to contact. Time is running out because Shafarl is officially on his last legs. His magic is gone, and he needs to reincarnate immediately, or it is game over for the legend. Our boy agrees to the terms since there is no catch. Light erupts from the dragon as the contract is finalized, and Laruku can only watch as his new friend starts to vanish. The blinding light clears to reveal a tiny fluffy creature with large eyes. Laruku stares wide-eyed, asking if this cute mascot is really the legendary Shafarl. The little guy confirms his identity through telepathy, leaving our boy stunned by the transition from a cool dragon to a super cute partner. After sealing the deal with the legendary silver dragon, Laruku gets straight to business. His first task is looting that massive dragon body for every rare material it is worth. The dragon mascot is shocked that Laruku's storage skill actually fit his entire original body inside. Even our boy is surprised, since he has never tried stuffing something that massive into his inventory before. With the loot secured, they follow the dragon's lead and head down the mountain. The plan is to reach the border between the Lubran and Recontis kingdoms, but the journey ahead is looking a bit rough. Our MC is starting to doubt the directions as they hack through a forest that looks nothing like a path. Shafarl gets offended, reminding him he has lived there for centuries, so he should just trust the process. It finally clicks for Laruku that the forest is eerily quiet with zero monsters in sight. Shafarl flexes, explaining that every beast nearby probably ran for their lives the moment they felt his magic power. The little guy wants to set some ground rules now that they are officially partners. He tells Laruku to drop the formal attitude because they are on the same team now. Shafarl mentions that life would be way easier if he was officially acting as a familiar instead of just a partner. Laruku is left wondering what kind of perks come with a familiar contract. Shafarl is tired of begging for mana and suggests becoming a familiar so he can recharge just by being near his master. Laruku agrees that would be a lot less of a hassle for both of them. Laruku asks if a legendary silver dragon actually has the humility to be a pet, but the little guy is already sold on the idea. Our MC officially pops the question, but Shafarl warns him that previous attempts to tame him ended in a complete disaster. He figures regular magic just bounced off such a high-tier creature, so it might be time to bust out that divine magic Samedi gave him. As long as the dragon is serious about the job, Laruku is down to try the contract, and Shafarl is more than ready to sign his life away. They lock in the deal as Laruku activates his special divine skill, summoning a glowing magic circle right under their feet. The contract actually sticks, leaving the dragon shocked that this kid pulled off a ritual that failed for everyone else. He remembers a weird encounter with someone calling himself God centuries ago, which might be why this worked. Laruku figures the divine magic was the secret sauce needed to tame a legendary beast. The dragon remembers meeting a weird masked god ages ago, which probably explains why the contract actually stuck. It all starts to make sense, but our MC gets cut off when his new partner suddenly vanishes into thin air. He starts bugging out and shouting for Shafarl in the middle of the empty forest. The dragon tells him to chill because he just moved into his soul for a bit. Apparently hanging out inside your master's spirit is just a standard feature for high-tier familiars. He doesn't come back out, leaving Laruku to survive the night solo. Our boy sets up a campfire and wraps himself in a cloak while the moon hangs over the trees. He stares at the fire and thinks about how his dad is probably losing his mind right now. Getting back to civilization is officially the main quest. After hacking through the brush, he finally spots a clearing. Seeing an actual road is a massive relief. Just as he hits the road, things go from 0 to 100 when he spots a pack of goblins jumping a carriage. The driver is screaming for his life while our boy watches from the tree line, trying to process the chaos. He knows he has to step in, but the nerves are real because his only combat experience so far is bullying slimes. Seeing the situation turn desperate, he stops overthinking and prepares to strike. No more time for hesitation. He lets his magic fly, and a wind blade catches a goblin right in the middle. The travelers watch in total shock as their rescuer finally appears. Our boy turns into a blender, zipping through the remaining goblins and leaving a trail of destruction. He is way faster than anything they've ever seen. Once the fighting stops, he's standing there covered in blood, Loki horrified that he actually cut them in half. The guys he saved are beyond grateful, immediately asking for the name of their savior. He tries to clean himself up with a towel while apologizing for the messy display. But once the adrenaline wears off, his stomach does a backflip and he ends up losing his lunch right there. The group watches the carriage set off while offering their thanks. They are just happy to have their lives and their cargo intact. The blonde guy gives a confident thumbs up now that the danger has passed. He introduces himself as Nick and expresses his gratitude for the save. He introduces the rest of the crew, naming the driver Laval and the muscular guard Grella. Our boy keeps it brief and gives his name in return. Recognizing the trade company name, Laruku realizes they are likely heading straight to the capital. He wastes no time asking the driver for a ride back to civilization. The crew is more than happy to help their savior and tells him they owe him one. Our boy offers a polite bow while the group settles in for the journey. Just as things seem to be calming down, the mood takes a sharp turn. Nick notices Grella is drenched in sweat and realizes the man might have been hit during the fight. It turns out those goblin blades were coated in poison, and Grella is already feeling the effects. Laruku drops the nice guy act and demands to see the wound immediately. Nick watches in horror as the poison spreads from the nasty wound. Our boy takes charge, telling the guard to stay still while he preps his magic. He is hoping holy magic can neutralize the venom even though he has never tried this before. Eyes closed and hands steady, he pours everything into a magic circle, praying for the holy light to do its thing. The glow slowly fades, leaving the others in shock. Grilla realizes the pain is totally gone and the crew is hyped. Our boy stays humble, reminding them that while the poison is gone, the actual wound still needs time to heal. Laruku has officially taken over as the party chef and the crew is absolutely loving it. He stays humble while they claim his cooking is the best thing to happen to this entire trip. Flashing back to a day earlier, the food situation was not nearly as impressive. Laruku is just glad he packed his magic storage box with enough fresh ingredients to save them from bland rations. The standard menu was nothing but dried meat and Grilla was clearly getting tired of the repetitive taste. Laval told him to stop complaining and just eat, while Laruku politely accepted his own portion. Laval explained that long-distance travel usually requires eating preserved food that lasts for weeks. Everyone was clearly struggling with the monotonous diet, but they did not have any other options at the time. To show his thanks for the ride, Laruku whipped up a massive feast for the whole group. He even introduced them to rice, hoping to spread the word about his favorite food while making everyone happy. The carriage continues its steady journey across the beautiful mountain pass. It is a quiet moment of travel as they move closer to the heart of the kingdom. The guys start asking questions about where he lives and how he managed to travel so far on his own. Laruku gives a few awkward answers while they wonder how he actually planned to walk home by himself. The crew is having a blast roasting Laruku for being a total airhead despite his top-tier skills. Their laughter is cut short when the massive recon Metis checkpoint finally looms in the distance. Seeing the stone gates sends Laruku into a full-blown panic attack. He realized he never hit a single checkpoint on his way out, and now he is terrified they are about to get flagged. He starts spiraling, clutching his head while imagining himself rotting in a cell for illegal entry. Laval can only watch as the kid loses his mind over a simple border crossing. Desperate to stay hidden, Laruku tries to squeeze himself into the luggage crates until Laval explains that their kingdoms are actually on great terms. The realization that he is not a wanted criminal lets our MC finally breathe a sigh of relief. The carriage pulls up and a heavily armored guard steps over to verify their papers. While the crew tries to convince Laruku to stay on as their permanent chef, the knight stays focused on the task at hand. Every step the guard takes toward the carriage feels like a death sentence to the hiding boy. He peeks out from the shadows, convinced that skipping the first checkpoint was his biggest mistake yet. The knight leans right into his space and asks if he is Laruku Voltress. Caught off guard, our boy lets out a terrified scream of apology before realizing he has just been identified. The knight lets out a sigh of relief and tells our boy he is just glad to see him safe. He pulls out an official search warrant from the capital, explaining that the high-ups have been looking for him for days. Laruku looks at the paper and realizes his disappearance caused a much bigger scene than he expected. Goldo is a total worrywart, and he even managed to get King Ars to sign off on the search request. Thinking it might clear things up, Laruku mentions that his father is just a guy who works at the Royal Guild reception. He casually drops the name Goldo Voltris, assuming it is just regular information. The merchants behind him instantly lose their minds at the mention of his dad's name. Laruku tries to explain that they aren't even related by blood, and he was just taken in after being abandoned, but the guys are way too stunned to listen. To these regular dudes, Goldo is a legendary hero who saved the entire city from disaster. Our MC can only sweat drop as Nick and Laval turn into his father's biggest fanboys right on the spot. Laval realizes they must have been out in the wild for a long time if they missed news that big. With the inspection finally finished, the crew packs it up and prepares to depart for the final leg of the trip. As the carriage pulls away, the knight stands at attention and gives a final formal salute. Laruku watches the checkpoint fade into the distance, relieved that he is officially in the clear and moving toward the capital. Waving goodbye with a huge smile, our boy officially says his thanks to the checkpoint guard. Laval breaks the news that the ride to the capital is still a long ways off, but Laruku is just happy to be moving. Time for a masterclass in survival cooking. Laruku flexes his magic by molding the dirt into a stove, summoning water, and cranking up the heat to serve a 5-star meal. The crew is absolutely losing it over the quality of the food. The feast is over and the depression is setting in. Looking at the empty plates, Nick laments that their days of gourmet food might be ending soon, leaving them with nothing but dry meat. As the merchants handle the cleanup duty, our MC heads off to secure the perimeter. He offers to set up some defensive traps to keep the local monsters at bay while they camp out. After checking the camp, he asks for permission to finally hit the hay. The guys tell him to rest easy while they handle the night watch, and he takes a moment to offer up a quick prayer to the gods before lights out. Morning comes way too fast for the sleepy merchants as Laruku bursts in like a human alarm clock. He lets them know that breakfast is already served, leaving the group stunned at his endless energy. Over breakfast, Laval asks if they can make a quick pit stop at his hometown of Debara to check on his parents. Laruku has zero issues with the detour, making the driver feel even more grateful for his kind-hearted passenger. The crew officially rolls into the town of Debara. After agreeing to link up at a diner later, Nick gives the kids some solid advice. Since there is a local branch in town, he suggests sending a letter to the capital to let everyone know he is safe. He adds that guild mail is the fastest way to get a message through. Laruku beams at the idea, realizing it is the perfect way to stop his overprotective dad from having a heart attack. Full of energy, our boy takes off running toward the guild before realizing he has zero idea where it actually is. The veteran guards can only watch and laugh as their pint-sized savior proves he is still a bit of a space cadet. He finally makes it to a desk and starts brainstorming. Recalling the rumors from the checkpoint, he worries that Goldo might have already left the capital to hunt him down. Knowing his dad, a rescue mission is definitely already in motion. He decides to send a backup message to the guildmaster as well, hoping someone reliable can intercept the chaos. He finishes the note with a promise to return soon and a sincere apology for making them worry. With the letter finally sealed, the weight on his chest starts to lift. Our boy gets a friendly heads up that the reception is starting to get packed, so he better hop in line before it is too late. After being told his mail will arrive tomorrow, he starts heading out until a booming voice suddenly calls for the silver-haired boy. Just as he turns around to see what is going on, a girl falls from the upper floor and crashes right toward him. He manages to catch her mid-air, but the girl is way more embarrassed than hurt as she starts apologizing for her clumsy entrance. She explains that she panicked because she thought he was leaving before suddenly asking if he is actually Laruku Voltris. The noise brings over a whole crowd, including Grela and the rest of the crew who seem surprised to see Laruku here. Since they are attracting way too much attention, the group decides to move their conversation somewhere a bit more quiet. Laruku is finally putting the pieces together and asks if this girl is actually the boss of the guild. She apologizes for the late introduction as they finally sit down to talk. The girl drops a bit of a bombshell by revealing she is actually the guild master of the royal capital. Her name is Liana, and she is clearly happy to finally meet the famous silver-haired boy. Turns out Leafia personally requested a search for Laruku. Liana has been scouring all the nearby towns ever since they got word from the checkpoint. Seeing the usually cool guild master so flustered was a total shock for everyone involved. Liana is just relieved that the search is finally over and everyone is safe. Our boy feels terrible for causing such a scene without even realizing it. Liana is not taking no for an answer though and wants to head back to the capital right this second. A confident wink confirms the plan as she tells him not to worry about the long trip. They are going to use transfer magic to get home in the blink of an eye. Liana is ready to flex her skills. She offers our boy a shortcut back home using high-level transfer magic. She is super confident since she was trained by the guild master herself. She admits she has not fully mastered the craft yet, but it is good enough for a trip. As she prepares to activate the spell, Laruku suddenly calls for a timeout. The crew he saved from the goblins burst through the door. They were planning on heading to the capital anyway and hope to hitch a ride. Liana hesitates because warping a whole squad takes a lot more juice. Laruku insists they should stay together since they were the ones who got him this far. Nick is practically in tears over how sweet his new little bro is. They promise to escort Laval and meet up with Laruku once they reach the city. Time to move. They head out into the pouring rain to set up the teleportation circle, while a nearby guard barely pays them any mind. In the blink of an eye, they arrive at the capital gates. Liana announces their return with a shout that nearly gives the local sentry a heart attack. The news of his return hits the castle like a bolt from the blue. Guards scramble to alert the king while our boy stands there looking lost. Word spreads through the capital like wildfire as a crowd swarms the gates to catch a glimpse of the legend. Liana is still catching her breath from the mana drain of that teleport. Walking through the quiet hallways of the guild, Laruku can barely keep his eyes open. He just wants to let everyone know he is safe so he can finally crash. Before they can even knock, the door flies open and Leafia charges out with a look that says she is about to either hug him or scold him for an hour. She tackles him into a hug, nearly suffocating the poor kid. The Vice Guild Master stays cool as ever, explaining she sensed him coming a mile away. Laruku manages to squeeze out an apology for all the chaos he caused. He looks around the room and notices Guldo is nowhere to be seen. The mood shifts as they reveal the truth. Guldo is still out in the freezing rain, refusing to give up the search until he sees the kid with his own eyes. Lalatina isn't about to sit on her hands while Guldo is out there in the storm, so she orders an immediate search party. Liana gears up with the rest of the crew, telling our boy to stay put and save his story for when the big man actually gets home. Laruku can only watch from the sidelines as they prepare to brave the downpour. They decide to settle in with some hot tea while they wait for word from the searchers. Lalatina points out that wandering out now might just lead to them missing each other in the chaos. Outside, the rain is relentless, making the wait feel even longer. Laruku keeps a worried eye on the worsening weather through the window. Just as the silence starts getting heavy, the door creaks open, and he nearly jumps out of his skin. He lets out a shocked gasp as a familiar face finally appears. A drenched and exhausted Guldo collapses into the room, his silhouette framed by the storm outside. He looks like he hasn't slept in an eternity as he calls out for Laruku, with whatever strength he has left. Our boy rushes over to help him dry off. But the big man is clearly running on fumes. Guldo pulls the kid into a tight hug, his relief practically radiating through the room. The others watch the emotional reunion in silence while Laruku offers a tearful apology for the scare. It finally hits him just how much his little detour terrified the people who care about him. Before anyone can even react, King Ars casually pops in to give his expert diagnosis. He smirks and points out that the legendary warrior is simply suffering from exhaustion. Laruku can't believe the king is just hanging out in the guild, like it's no big deal. Laruku nearly has a heart attack when he sees the king just chilling there. But Ars casually explains he warped in the second he heard the news. Our boy is floored that the king would use high-level magic just to skip the commute. He is quickly realizing that his return is a much bigger deal than he thought. Everyone is catching their breath after the chaotic reunion. Queen Emma notes that Guldo pushed himself to the limit out of sheer relief. Our boy decides it is time for a proper introduction. The whole squad gathers on the couch, wondering who else could possibly be involved in this mess. Laruku concentrates and calls out for his new partner. A flash of light erupts as the legendary silver dragon finally makes his appearance. The little fluff ball is not happy about his nap being interrupted. He starts shouting about how comfortable he was, leaving the guild masters speechless. Laruku drops the bombshell and reveals this tiny mascot is the dragon behind the entire incident. Leafia can barely process what she is looking at. The baby dragon keeps complaining while Guldo starts to lose his mind in the background. Our boy tries to keep the peace before his father figure decides to throw hands with a legendary beast. Laruku explains that Shafal is a silver dragon who has been reincarnating for centuries. Apparently he needs a steady supply of mana just to grow up. Long ago, the silver dragons made a sacred pact to protect their human partners in exchange for a constant supply of mana. It turns out our fluffy mascot is actually part of a legendary lineage of world-class bodyguards. Guldo finally connects the dots and asks if that mysterious hooded traveler was part of the Dragon Squad too. Shafal just laughs it off and drops the bombshell that the cool hooded hero was actually her the entire time. Guldo is officially over the drama and admits that high-rank monsters turning human is a known thing in this world. He still wishes she could have picked a less terrifying way to kidnap the kid, but the dragon was just in a massive rush. Leafia is still processing that the legendary silver dragon is a real living being and not just a bedtime story. Meanwhile, the king is more interested in the mechanics, asking if they are just chatting via telepathy since her baby vocal cords aren't ready for talking yet. Laruku is shook to find out his family history is actually a famous fairy tale in this world. Leafia even promises to show him the storybooks later, proving that his new pet is a certified historical celebrity. The lore dump was way too much for the little dragon, who decides it is finally time for a nap. She checks out for some much-needed rest, leaving Laruku to deal with the social fallout of his return. With the mystery finally solved, the king decides to head back to the palace to calm down the worried princesses. Everyone agrees it is time to pack it in and let our boy get some actual sleep after his wild journey. Back at the mansion, our boy is finally relaxing in a massive hot bath. Guldo leans back, wondering if he even had a chance to clean up during his wild trip. Laruku admits it was mostly camping, but he actually had a blast on his first carriage ride. Guldo just smiles, patting his head and thanking him for making it home in one piece. Guldo decides to head out first, warning the kid not to stay in until he gets dizzy. Watching him leave, our MC stares at the water, reflecting on how much worry he caused. The peaceful vibe is ruined when the tiny dragon mascot spawns right into the water. Our MC nearly jumps out of his skin as the fluffball starts critiquing Guldo's parenting. Our boy isn't having it and demands to know why the dragon chose such a chaotic kidnapping method. The little beast admits it was a rush job, though he is starting to regret being so dramatic. Watching the legendary beast splash around like a rubber ducky, Laruku realizes the myths were definitely exaggerated. He sighs, deciding he better go make things right with Guldo before the dragon causes more trouble. While drying off, our MC lays down the law about keeping the dragon a secret from the public. If he wants to tag along to the academy, he has to stay low-key and avoid causing another national emergency. Laruku is back at the academy and it is basically a hero welcome. Sarah is already clinging to him, crying about how glad she is that he is safe. A whole month flies by after that dragon incident. Between regular exams and checking test results, life as a student is moving fast. Later at home, Guldo brings up that school break starts tomorrow. It is a 2-month vacation, and our boy has no idea how to spend his free time. Guldo suggests he should try being a real adventurer for once. Laruku is interested, but the rule is that he still cannot leave the city by himself. The big guy looks a bit worried, but admits he cannot keep him sheltered forever. Laruku is already getting those sparkly eyes just thinking about it. He is totally sold on the idea and ready to start. Guldo tries to set some ground rules, telling him to at least try not to do anything too reckless. He finally makes it to the guild to check the bulletin board. There are so many requests posted that he has no clue which job to pick first. Laruku runs into Doldos at the guild, who is surprised to see him out of class. He explains that since school is on break, he is ready to get some real-world experience as an adventurer. Looking at the massive wall of requests is a bit much for him, though. Doldos notices his hesitation and points out a simple herb-gathering job that might be a good start. The veteran explains that standing requests like this are perfect for beginners, since they don't require any formal check-in. It is a great way to learn the local geography while making a bit of coin. Thanking him for the advice, Laruku waves goodbye as he prepares to head out. He thinks about letting the others know first, especially since his last disappearance caused such a huge panic. He decides to shout his plans to the guild staff just to be safe. They give him a casual wave and tell him to watch his back out there. Once he is out in the field, he checks his map to pinpoint the exact location for the herbs. His new boots are already getting a workout as he treks through the woods. It doesn't take long before he spots exactly what he is looking for. Looking closer, he realizes the place is crawling with the stuff, exactly like his dad taught him. Laruku activates his appraisal eye to scan the area for extra ingredients. He notices there are plenty of other useful plants mixed in with the medicinal herbs. Thinking it over, he decides to use his convenience box and earth magic to gather everything at once. He figures those extra materials will probably come in handy for crafting later. He stretches out his hands and channels his earth attribute magic to clear the entire patch. Instead of just pulling the plants, a massive pillar of earth explodes out of the ground. Our boy can only stare in shock as his power goes completely overboard. Surveying the massive crater he just made, he realizes he went way too far with the environmental destruction. This definitely was not the low profile he was aiming for. He decides to do things the old-fashioned way and starts picking the herbs steadily by hand. After gathering what he needs, he carefully repairs the landscape and pats the soil back into place. Checking his inventory, he confirms he finally has a solid haul. With the job finished, he starts making his way back. Laruku makes it back to the log house and proudly announces his harvest. Gorilla points to a tiny wooden tray for the drop-off, but our boy just stares at it in confusion. He realizes his massive haul is definitely not going to fit in that little space. Laruku lugs out a mountain of greens that dwarf his entire body. Gorilla can only blink in disbelief as he clarifies he only needed enough to fill that one small tray. Our MC just stands there holding his massive bundle like it is the most normal thing in the world. Grilly asks for a final count and nearly loses it when Laruku casually drops the number 500. He quickly explains he practiced sustainable farming by not stripping any single area bare, which only earns him a lecture on showing more restraint. Laruku takes the feedback with a sheepish smile, time for the payout, and Grella slides over a single silver coin for the trouble. Leafia jumps in to give a quick math lesson, explaining that 100 coppers make a silver and 5 herbs buy you 1 copper. Laruku listens intently as the economics of this new world finally start to click. With his first solo reward secured, Laruku beams with pride as he starts his trek home. He is in high spirits after completing a successful mission without any major disasters. Back at the house, Laruku starts humming a tune while the dinner prep gets underway. Even with a growling stomach, he is in a great mood as Shafal asks how the quest went. Instead of talking about the money, he pulls out a mysterious bottle with a triumphant reveal. He is geeking out because he found soy sauce in this fantasy world. Shafal has no idea what the big deal is, but Laruku explains he already made a deal with the local shop to keep it in stock along with the rice. Shafal goes full feast mode on a platter of fruit, while our boy just watches with a smirk. He tells the dragon there is plenty more to look forward to. The little mascot suddenly starts talking out loud, admitting her vocal cords finally developed. Our boy is stunned because she was holding out on him the whole time. Shafal brags about her improved flight distance and growth spurt before pivoting to the real priority. She demands meat with a volume that could shatter glass, and Laruku has to beg her to pipe down. A large bowl of stir-fried meat and veggies finally hits the table. While the dragon stays busy eating, Laruku notes that she is actually an omnivore. He asks if she finally saw her status screen, and she confirms it was exactly as he described. Magilt actually showed up to help after the dragon offered a quick prayer to the statue. Laruku is happy, thinking a divine beast like her is basically a VIP in the goddess's realm. Now deep into a large parfait, Shafal casually drops that her stats average out to around 5,000. She lists off her standard dragon moves plus a reincarnation skill that makes her a serious threat. Shafal explains she is currently nerfed by a reincarnation weakening debuff, but Laruku is just frustrated that a baby dragon is still outclassing him. The food coma hits hard, and Shafal decides to call it a day, opting to snooze while soaked in Laruku's magic instead of roughing it outside. She even claims his magic tastes clean and delicious, which is a weirdly specific compliment that leaves our boy feeling more than a little confused. Laruku decides to treat them to a fancy dinner and starts heading out to shop, only for the supposedly sleeping dragon to suddenly scream for a massive meat haul. That's it for today, guys. If you made it to the end, drop a OP bro in the comment so I know you're real ones. Don't forget to like and subscribe, it really helps the channel grow. Until then, keep on cooking.